some of the what's right, it's not.
Y'all looking at that? I will not text them. Just to let you know, I wanted to get everything set up, so we are live streaming on YouTube now. You know, we'll have everything now on record.
The reason they got this is so they have it to be, I can see. That is the kind of little plants.
Anyway, there's your head.
Okay, I probably got it yesterday, I would think.
This is like.
Well, maybe not.
You wouldn't put it in. You wouldn't know it.
Oh, well, there it goes. You got to move, yeah. I'm about to move, so I can sing a little bit. That's why it should be good for a good while, but I don't know how long they last. Well, we can charge them one. I was gonna say, if the lights go out, let me know. Yeah. Get a cord in here. And then if not, we will plug in. Okay, that sounds good. Debbie was not gonna be here. She had an 8th grade registration. It was something that she could not get out of. Okay. She's not going. She,
I'm not going to apply, but this thing is.
Oh,
well, she'll just miss probably Ashley and maybe.
Well, and it's all on record.
And is she coming next week? The whole
I think so,
thing?
yeah, I hadn't heard about next week, but today, she was really upset that it's 8th grade registration. She'll try to get away as soon as she can. But she, said she'd be here.
Okay.
As soon as she could.
Okay.
Tyler's on his way. And, John English texted me this morning, he is gonna come and just really quick. At least throw out here what the system would like us to help in terms of the gym. Reworking the gym, so
When is he coming?
he said he'd be here like right away at 10, just to drop some stuff off, just as soon as we got started. So I'm excited.
We don't need to wait.
No, you need to wait. But I told him, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Just show up.
Can we go ahead and get started?
Yes.
It's almost 10 o'clock. We're already live. Just a few things to go over about your notebook. You have a portrait version of the general fund budget in the very front flap of your book. Under your second tab, you have a version that's landscaped. It's a little bit bigger font size, a little bit easier to read. It's more pages, but I actually prefer looking at it, but I wanted to have both, depending on what you all like to look at. The first section, you have an agenda in your book. We'll try to stick to that, and where it's not, absolutely mandatory that we do that, but we'll try to stick to that. We'll have lunch about 1. In the third section, we have your drug fund, which there's very little on that. And the way that kind of works is when you get to when you confiscate drugs, it takes a long time for that to end up being processed, especially if there's cash involved. It's pending until the state says you're going to have it or not. Under section 4 is the Mount Harvest Kitchen. Lee will come, I guess, during lunch and after lunch to do her presentation. And then in section 5, we'll have a list of the appropriations, the requests, and some maybe the previous year to show you all what the entities have requested for appropriations. And if you take a look at your budget, just for those who've not been on the board before, or if it's been a while, the headings, the first column is audited financial numbers. This comes right off the audit. The next heading is your original budget for that column, and then amended budget, because we do line item moves during the month. And then the next column is projected actual, and that's where we're trying to project what's going to be for this year, even though we still have a few months left. So that column will change as we go farther and we pay more bills and have more payrolls. We'll adjust those numbers. And then the next column is the requested budget. And the department heads have made their requests. And that's what's in this column, and that's what, we think we're gonna need for next year. And then the last column that's empty, it will be, the same column as requested unless the board wants to make changes to that final column.
I picked him up yesterday.
And, let's see, the first 5 sections are revenues. We had a request from Alderman Ray to have the grants highlighted so that they kind of stand out, and we did that. And then the next 17 sections are departmental expenses and the section for appropriations. And then the next section would be debt service. And then the last page will show the revenues and expenditures and whether it's net income, net loss, and our fund balance. I also have a list of employees from the previous year, this year, and requested for next year. And we will start with Ashley.
And we're actually gonna let Tyler confirm the minute.
May I amend the agenda? John wanted just to stop in real quick. He is on the agenda. Can we just let John throw out a little bit of what he would like to suggest? And I apologize, but I will give him an opportunity if you don't mind, actually.
No problem, right?
All right, Mr. English.
I appreciate that, and I apologize for just kind of dropping the last minute, but I'm sure you can guess, I'm just here to hopefully revisit and restart the conversation about Newport Gym. Is it okay if am I distance enough to remove this? It's difficult to talk.
Okay.
We had a work session 2 weeks ago, where we had brought that back to the table, and we of course have some ESSER money that's coming in. We're still waiting to kind of find out what the restrictions are to that. We feel like expanding buildings, which is what the gymnasium would be. You can't use those funds to build a new building, but you can use those funds, at least from the school perspective, to add on, and of course that gymnasium would be an add-on. So as you all jump into conversations, I know you have a lot of decisions and numbers, and we certainly get that, but we would just love, and I would be happy to answer any questions or provide anything that I can provide to you. I've actually got plans out in the car, but I know we probably don't go there today. The approximate cost of a new gymnasium was 2.5 million 2 years ago. Now, I'm sure that's probably only gone up since then. Plan on speaking to the county as well, and then the school system. We'd love to, partner up and see if we can get that done. I would love to welcome any of you that haven't been in the gym in a while to set up a tour and let you come see, but there's certainly a tremendous need there. And I just appreciate the consideration as y'all jump into numbers and future planning for us to try to get that done if we can. We would view that as a community, obviously our kids during the day need that, but then as events pop up, I think the county, of course, has been great to schedule things and try to have community events. So we want you to look at that gymnasium as the community's gymnasium. I mean, that's how we look at all of our facilities, but there's certainly a need there. So I just wanted to come out quickly. And again, I appreciate it. I know it wasn't on the agenda, but I know you all were meeting and want to just come out and put that back on the table and see if you have any questions of me, and to ask if there's any way that I can be helpful in terms of answering questions or providing whatever you may need as you consider that.
Well, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Put me on the spot.
It's a double question.
Yep.
Do you have a dollar amount in mind you think you're gonna need from the town? I know you don't know what the county might offer. And then number two, how would that need to get paid out over time? Are we looking at 2 years?
Well,
2-year commitment?
I don't know what that looks like from you guys. For us, I mean, we did the capital note, 2 years ago when I came out and presented a series of times. The stadium renovations, the auditorium renovations, and the Rock Creek renovations. The 5 million was the most we could get. That's gone in those 3 projects. So we're looking at our ESSER dollars. Now, we could be able to fund half of that or more. We just don't know yet, just like I'm sure you guys may not know. So it's kind of hard to answer that specifically.
What time frame can that be a payback for?
Well, it just depends for you all. I don't know what you're borrowing. I don't know what that looks like for you all. For us, our note was a 20-year note. So I don't know, what that looks like on your all's end. And I don't even have a specific number request. it's really hard to request a specific number simply because we don't know what we'll be able to contribute. I can tell you this, we're committed to contribute as much as we can. We're just waiting to see how much our ESSER dollars are gonna be. You know, there's a lot of projections and possibilities, but we don't know for sure. What we have been told is we can use those funds, like I said before, to extend the building. So it's not a matter of whether we're gonna be able to use it. We know we're gonna be able to use it. It's now figuring out how much we're gonna get. And so, you know, we feel like from the school system perspective, that is our number one need now. Gentry was, and I know I had a lot of discussions with folks, you know, Gentry is heavily used by Town of Unicoi, Town of Irwin, and county kids between flag football, middle school football, high school football, band, cheerleading. You know, there's a lot of usage over there. So we felt like with the shape it was in, it was our number one priority because literally the stands were falling in, as most of you may know. Unicoi Gym is now our number one priority to get done just because you gotta be happy to go out there and walk it. We can show you it is deteriorating fast. And so I would love to give you specific numbers. I'll be happy to come back if you guys give me a date and time and try to have more information as far as what our allocation is going to be and what we can commit. But as far as on your end, it's just hard because I know you have a lot of things that you want to get done. It's hard to ask for a specific number, not knowing what everybody else's contributions may or may not be.
Is there any opportunity that your information could become more specific even a week from today?
I hope so. I have a meeting today in Greenville with superintendents and State Department of Finance ladies supposed to be there to discuss ESSER. It's at 1 o'clock down at the nice Walter office. So I hope even by today, we may have a little bit more clear picture, but I don't, when you're dealing with federal or state, you know, until it's right in front of you, it's hard to say, but I do feel pretty confident that it's going to be flowing in July, $4 million. Now, of that 4 million, we have to do summer school allocations. There's a lot of things that we have to use that for academic purposes, but there is a portion of that that can be used for capital projects like this. And so I just don't know what that amount's going to be yet.
Okay.
I would sit here and approximate, so don't hold me to this, at least 1.5 million we feel like will be freed up for us. So that could leave us with $1 million and some change. Maybe if we could get that from different entities to get it done. So we feel like that would at least get us more than halfway there. I spoke with our architects and construction folks who put the design and plan together. And again, if you're interested in seeing that, I'll be happy to bring it at a different time and lay that out and kind of show you what the design looks like. But I was talking to them because we're bidding a re-roof at our central office, and I asked them, okay, it was 2.5 million 2 years ago. How much do you think that has grown? They said it's hard to say, of course, but they would guess we could still get it done for under 3. And so we feel like there's a pretty good chance we can have 1.5 of that. So I guess that's the closest answer I could get you is what we would need is between 1.3 and 1.5, maybe from everybody else, whether that's a note or I don't know if you guys are getting any CARES Act or money, but I just wanted to, as you were jumping into budget, just bring that back to the table that it really is a need. You know, I feel like the students and the staff and the community deserve a new gym, and I would love to schedule if any of you are interested to go take a look at what's there. And what that new gymnasium would do for us is allow us to open up some space to have some other classrooms and that type of thing with the existing cafeteria. We were thinking about shifting the cafeteria into the gym if we could. It's still going to need some work even to get that done. But, and then use the current cafeteria as some extra classrooms.
So who would you put in the gym?
Back, you know where the playground side is now, there's some space between the new playground, and the cafeteria. So we've got to head out that other new playgrounds back there is where we have it. So,
It's certainly good to hear that's project number 1.
it is project number 1.
That's exciting.
It was project number 2 just behind the stadium because again, the stadium was in such bad shape. The problem with the capital note that we got is the stadium ended up being 3.2 million. So we only have 1.8 left. So, you know, that couldn't touch the gym. And so we went on to Rock Creek and Auditorium. But between the stadium and Unicoi Elementary Gymnasium, they were both, you know, in pretty poor shape. But we did get the stadium taken care of with the 3.2 million. And now the gym is by far. So from the board's perspective, just know that our commitment of whatever extra dollars we get, we feel like up to 1.5 million, we plan on putting that full amount towards the gym. And we'll just be asking, different entities to try to get us across the finish line for that. So if you guys would consider that, and again, if I can be helpful to bring anything to a future meeting or sit down with you or open up the gym for you guys to look at, tour, whatever, just feel free to let me know. I'd be more than happy to do whatever I can.
With that said, I'm assuming that the design that you've got, the design you're planning is an add-on, not something that you could use those dollars for.
Yeah, it's an add-on. So yeah, I have confirmed that piece and was told just about verbatim, we feel like you'll be able to do that. So, it's not a for sure, but they said the discussions that they've had at the federal and state level have been for schools specifically, not new construction. And so I was on a conference call and said, well, we're looking at a new gymnasium, which would create more space at our school. And they said that we feel confident will be allowable. So I do feel like 1.5 million of it we'll have. It's just trying to figure out the rest. So any consideration you guys could give, I certainly would very much appreciate it.
I'd be interested later in seeing your plans.
Yeah, I've got them in the car now. And again, not today, but you just say when, and I'll be happy to bring them out at any time. We've actually got 2 different designs.
I said this to a lot of people, it could be a real asset to our community if we could co-use. I told you that. many times,
Absolutely.
and it's kind of been a dream of mine that we could ever get to there.
Yeah, and you'll see when we do look at the plans, would be a super nice gym. And that's how we look at it. It's taxpayer dollars, no matter how you come across. And it's not just for the school. It's, we use the grounds outside for different events. And we'd like to have a nice place inside for those winter or bad weather events to go and shift inside, not really lose anything. So, yeah, I would definitely love to get this done at some point.
Thank you.
I know you have a lot on your plate. Thank you for giving me some time without being on the agenda. And again, if I can answer any questions or be helpful, don't hesitate to reach out. Okay? Thank you all very
John,
much.
thank you. Have a great
I
day.
appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
All right, Tyler and Ashley, I'm sorry, we took some of your time.
Yes, we're gonna bump Tyler up, because under my section is economic development. We've asked Tyler to be here to kind of explain that to you, be able to answer any questions on that side grants. We're gonna let him go first, so that he can go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So in regards to the facade grant, we used Irwin's grant as a model. It's the grant program that we developed for Unicoi is similar but different in a few key ways. So the first step that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen would take is to declare what we call assigned redevelopment areas. We would encourage the board to think about those areas that are sort of gateways to the town that you really want to focus a facelift on. So we would think that those would be perhaps this area on the exit and then Unicoi Drive, maybe from, I don't know, that curve there to this service station here. That's of course your choice and your purview. What happens is the board would put a set amount in a fund. A business owner, let's say Debbie is a business owner, she has a building. She would come and describe the improvements she wishes to make to her building. There are several uses of the money that aren't permitted in Irwin that we really regretted, that we excluded. One of those is roofing. As you know, the Capitol is in such a huge mess. So, if we had developed that with roofing involved, we might not be in a mess with the Capitol Theater. Now, on the other hand, I don't know that you want to re-roof every building in Unicoi, but that's just a consideration I would encourage you to think about. So the way that we wrote this program is the building owner, Debbie, can apply for $5,000 match. So Debbie has to be putting up at least $5,000 against the money that the town would put in. Also, there's a little tickler in there. If it's on a corner, she could receive an extra 2,500 if she puts in the extra 2,500. Because we know, you don't just want one side of a building that faces, say, Unicoi Drive to be touched up and redeveloped. You want that whole facade fixed. And then, you might have facade redevelopment guidelines that you want. I wouldn't go as far as paint colors and trim and all that, but perhaps you have a set of ideas that you would like these buildings to achieve. So with that said, questions or thoughts about the program?
Can it include landscaping, adding a tree, adding
At present, it does not include landscaping. I'm sure that if the board thinks that's a good use of the money,
not routine landscaping necessarily, but
landscape improvements.
something that's
Yeah.
more permanent.
And especially, I think about if that landscaping were to include erosion control and those sorts of measures, that would be a great use of those funds.
Okay. Any questions?
Okay, now we've talked about this before.
Yes, ma'am.
The money that they would decide to put in our budget would be turned over to your entity, correct?
Potentially, it doesn't have to.
Okay, I thought it did.
No.
I was under that impression too.
The money can be retained by the town. We can provide technical assistance on how to administer that program. We can help score. I do this with Erwin. I help score the applications. I help, bring the business owners in, look over their design, make sure that it's compliant with the program, tell them where it's out of compliance. And the important thing is this isn't supposed to be a finger wagging exercise over, well, you've got to do it. This building has to look this way. This is designed to help improve the prosperity of our business owners in the town while making the town look better. It's a double-edged thing. So, and it's really important to mention that the business owner has money on the line as well as the town. So.
In order for you to fully facilitate, since we don't really have somebody on staff that's now to facilitate that project, can the funds be in our coffers or do they have to be in economic development?
They don't have to be. Irwin's are in Irwin's, on Irwin's books. We just provide the technical.
How much money did they put in?
I want to say 10 or 15,000.
How long have they been doing it?
4 years. So in 2017, they received a CDBG block grant, basically, that was just for facade. And it was about $100,000, a little more maybe. And that's when we did the Capitol and a couple of other buildings downtown. And that was a very stringent process because it was through the state. But we sort of relax those guidelines for Unicoi because it's your money. So if you have something you want to do, it doesn't have to follow those state guidelines. It just needs to make sure that obeys your own rules.
So you designate an area first,
And I mean, the area could be the whole town. It can be.
but it's for businesses.
It's for businesses. So, I just always think it's a little less daunting to say, we're focusing on this street
Right.
first, or the gateway area first. That's just a little more manageable usually. But again, if you want to say the whole town is included, that's perfectly fine. That's up to the board.
And a business owner could come to you first and say, let's look this over, what do you suggest? That would be an enhancement that would really help.
Yes, ma'am.
Work with you, coordinate with you first.
Yeah, and I have had applications that had elaborate plans from architects. And then I have had plans come in that it's just like photographs from a building in Asheville or Johnson City that they like, and they're gonna take it to their contractor. So, you know, it doesn't have to be that they're spending a fortune on having an architect and engineer come in. It can be very, very simple. And really, we would encourage somebody, the simpler the better.
I mean, it could be as simple as replacing windows.
That's correct.
Okay, something that simple.
Yeah.
And we would just split the cost with them,
Right.
whatever they're willing to do.
Like if say the gas in a pane of glass is blown, that they could replace that big plate glass.
And we would help them do that.
Yes.
About signs,
One more time.
signs.
Yes, ma'am. As long as they're within, we did that at the Capitol. So that's a perfect example. We replaced their sign, $30,000. So as long as it's within the town's sign ordinance, we could do that. You know, they would have to provide matching funds all the way up, but we could do that.
I'm sure you've seen this, where you've seen, here's the picture before, and then here's the picture after. And I know you said that landscaping wasn't included, but just to add a tree or some flower pots in front of a business and painting makes a huge difference.
Makes a huge difference. And often, you know, our business owners don't have, don't let me run over time, don't have the facility to, you know, to hire a painter. I mean, that's expensive. To go and hire a painter and have the building painted, that's hard. They don't have time to paint it themselves. And they don't have the money to hire a painter. So if we can help them do that, how awesome is that? That we can make their business look better, more attractive to tourists or folks who, locals who are passing by. I think that's a win-win.
It could be something expensive, but it doesn't have to be something.
Doesn't have to be.
It could be $500 worth of improvements.
They can make a big
And it probably depends on the location and how bad anything needs to be.
That's right.
So if we wanted to move forward with this, obviously we have to allocate money in the budget, but in addition to that, we would need to create some guidelines.
Mhm.
So locations, that has to be within these locations and whatever, that sort of thing. Okay. Okay. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you, Tyler. Anything else you got? No?
I think we're good, thank you.
Okay, I appreciate it.
See y'all.
All right, now, so really, I'm just here to answer questions. You guys have our proposed budget in front of you, and I'm here to provide any information, answer questions.
Do you want to go, she has several different sections that she's responsible for. She has the park and rec department, she has the cabin, she has economic development, and what he was talking about, what we've had in our budget, which we've not used since I've been here, is $5,000. And that's what's in there now, it's under economic development, so she has that as well. It's not her property, so.
Under economic development, mostly what we pull out of is any education, which I don't even think we have anything in there for education this time, just because we have found ways around paying for education. Trish, most of that comes with computer technology where Trish is concerned, and she's excellent at learning through YouTube. Different videos. She learned very well by being able to go back to that video if she has questions. So we even ask for anything there. We also use.
That is on page, I'm gonna interrupt you. Page 11, if you're looking at the landscape version. Go to your tab 2, actually, and page 11 is where they need to be.
So, as I said, we didn't request anything for that this year because we just really have been able to do without it. Public relations, that is mostly for flowers and things when someone passes, or, you know, anything that we need to do that comes up as far as community outreach. Obviously, the economic development board money goes towards Tyler and that organization. Our travel comes out of this one. Miscellaneous expenses, that's very minor. Office supplies, most of our office supplies come out of our other line items, but in case we were to need to do some sort of packaged mailing, you know, that's where we would come out of there. But mostly Tyler responds to all our FIs, so there's not much of that we'll need to do. Our big one is software and website and advertising. That's what we use most out of this. All of our ads come out of it unless it's directly, I do have some ad budget. Well, with the special events, two of the events, Strawberry Festival and Freedom Fest, have their own line item. And within that, I break that, well, it was actually broken down before I got here. I'm now kind of tweaking that as I go. How much money for advertising, for supplies, for this within that line item. So all of the advertising you're seeing here under economic development is newspaper ads. Used to be that we've lowered that number some.
That was, let me explain this. We have split out, that used to be a line item for all the legal notices and all the advertising that she was doing, okay, all in one line. I have split that out and put a new line under legislative, which is only our newspaper notices, legal notices, meeting notices, when the ordinances are passed. So I've split that off. So that's why we reduced, that's pretty far down. But part of this year, it's still coming out of the one line. So we're separating it now. What's gonna be in here is just gonna be her advertising.
Because that was hard. I was always having to call town hall and say, can I get an update on that particular line item? Because I didn't know what was being used out of it. So that makes it a little easier for my planning purposes, obviously easier for tracking purposes. We also used to do, you know, when tourism was a focus, especially when I came on board, I noticed that we had a lot of magazine placement ads and some travel magazines, some online things that were travel related. Anything that you check tourism onto cost a pretty penny. I looked into when I was at the tourism conference, not last year, but the year before, I walked over and talked to him about the Tennessee vacation guide. I knew before I walked over there, I was like, we can't afford it, but I just want to know how much. And he told me that to price, and I was like, okay, I just walked away smiling. The tourism aspect of advertising is very expensive. So that's something we have scaled back on even before this administration took over. I just felt like partnerships with Northeast Tennessee Tourism Association and TN Hospitality, we could do things through there in a more co-op environment where we were spending $300 instead of $3,000. So we had already backed off on a lot of that. And of course, we've backed off even more with just really not doing any advertising specifically for tourism. Doesn't mean that our advertising doesn't often borderline tourism. It's not specifically related. Most of our advertising goes through the Irwin Record, some in the Johnson City Press, but anytime there's a special tab for the schools, the sports tabs, things like that, we need to support them. And that's where a lot of that money goes to. And most of those ads, unless it's right around an event, like I've got an ad that will be going in the Little League ad coming out here next week, late next week, I think. That one is a Strawberry Festival ad, but it's taken out of this particular line item because it's for the schools. It's for a specific tab. It's not directly related to that. Any other time of the year, I also do that with Freedom Fest. Any other time of the year, if you'll notice, one just came out in the softball tab or spring sports tab. And that had all the aldermen's pictures that make sure that they see who's making these decisions and then who's doing that sport. It says we support our student athletes. And then what I did was list all upcoming events. So we had like blocks of, you know, here's kind of like a calendar. So it's a little more generalized. And then of course, software and website, that is to keep our website going and any type of software related to that. Those costs have gone up this year, that there's just nothing that we can do about that. There was a price increase, and there's been a lot of price increases with the pandemic. Any questions under that one?
Can you talk about this business alliance?
Business alliance development, my understanding was that was for the business alliance. My understanding with the business alliance right now is, and I have not talked to him in a couple of months, but he was looking at, Jeff was looking at possibly dissolving the business alliance. From what I've been told, well, many years before I came, it was thriving. Since I've been here for 2 years, it was pretty much Jeff, me, Johnny. Yes, you did. Robin Lynch is technically the president. We didn't have one single meeting last year and it had nothing to do with pandemic. They did 2 events per year. It was the Fiddlers and Fiddleheads Festival, whereas they paid for everything. The town staff worked the event, we coordinated it, but the person writing the checks was the Business Alliance. So that didn't cost the town anything. Then the Pinnacle Trail Challenge, the Business Alliance wrote all the checks, we did the work. That was kind of our partnership.
And the purpose of the Business Alliance was to pull out of Unicoi County Chamber of Commerce, which we have not experienced any significant contribution of time or effort or support from. And so I think the original plan to develop the Business Alliance was to create our own Chamber of Commerce. And that Chamber of Commerce is to support the businesses, to promote businesses. And what the Unicoi Business Alliance has done is the Pinnacle Trail Challenge, which donated food to
Second Harvest.
Second Harvest, and promoted the Fiddlers and Fiddleheads. Neither of which really support the development of business or support our businesses in the town of Unicoi. So I had said to Ashley, we pay your salary, you don't need to be doing those things on your town salary that aren't aligned with what they need to be aligned with, whatever. I just felt like they weren't.
When I came to the meetings, and we also had the business owners were invited and nobody came. See, that was the thing, the ones that I came to, just a few that they had during the time, and then it just put meeting, but that was it, the business people did. I think the little one that has the little garages or whatever, he came.
Gary went, and he will be here every time.
Yeah, and the rest of it, they just keep going, and I think a lot of it's the timing, because some people off from work.
Well, and I came to a few early on when they were a little more active, before you even came, I think. And they were a little more active, I will have to say. You know, promoting development, generating some ideas about either advertising, marketing, whatever, building your business, business plans, you know, whatever. But I think it's lost that.
Here's the issue. Since I've come on board, you know, every business owner or small business owner I've talked to, which, let's face it, other than Walmart, most of all of ours are small businesses, you know. It's not that they don't like the idea. They love it. They're like, oh yeah, give me information. Anything you can do to help us, we'd be great. We'd be grateful for it. The problem is they don't have the time to show up and participate. And
Well,
it like
that has to be meaningful for
Yeah.
them, and it's not meaningful.
No.
So they're not gonna spend their time coming to something that doesn't contribute or is meaningful for them.
Exactly.
So-
And I would, I know one thing that we were trying to do, and I think that my predecessor, Ashley Cavender, had also attempted this from what I understand. I don't think she was here but 1 year for the shop small business Saturday. I know that she had gotten us on some lists to get, marketing materials for that. The problem previously has been that's the same day as our Christmas parade. Now, we're not doing the Christmas parade this year, so I would like to focus some efforts on Small Business Saturday. The past 2 years, all we could do was just say, just do some social media posts. Hey, please go shop. The year before, 2019, the Christmas parade, and I got no feedback on, like, nobody said, oh yeah, they came in and used the coupon, okay? But we did a coupon card that was passed out. We had somebody going down the parade line, passing out these coupon cards that said shop local, shop small today. And then their hope was that they would leave the parade and go into these stores. And we just didn't have the feedback. Either they weren't bringing the cards with them, or the business owners were too busy to notice, but there was just very little feedback on that effort. And that was not much effort, to be honest. I would like to see us do more for our small businesses on that particular day. But there's nobody there with the Business Alliance to help.
Well, and the Business Alliance has not approached us for any appropriation whatsoever, so we're just gonna take that. It's been eliminated.
And if there's a need, maybe later on, it could always be added back, if it's so needed.
Okay,
If you had a group of business people that have the time, and that's the problem, is our small businesses, they're just so strapped for time.
And cash is spent. I mean, Can I stand with that?
Well, no, there was no charge to be in the alliance, so the businesses weren't charged, it was just their time, but that's a expensive commodity right there.
I know in one of our meetings too, the Walmart, the manager had just came on, and he came and reassured us he would work with the town, and
And he has continued to do that. He has, Tony has been great. Tony McMillan, he has, anytime we need anything from him, they jump at the opportunity. He has actually used this facility because of course they're not nonprofit. Under the old rules to this room, obviously new rules are in place, but under the old rules, you had to be a nonprofit to reserve this room. Tony wanted to bring a regional Walmart meeting here. Well, from my standpoint, all I could think is that's good for us. That looks good for us. That's getting them in our town, showing them what we have to offer. So we had expanded those to, if you were a member of the Unicoi Business Alliance, you counted as a nonprofit, we would let you use this space. So he had a few meetings up here and people were very impressed. The Walmart team was very impressed. So he's been great to work with. I know he's also been very good to Andy. So we continue to have a very strong relationship with Walmart. And a lot of our other businesses. We'll get to that when we talk about Strawberry Festival.
Okay, I got a question. Tell me what value we're getting from the Economic Development Board of Plan 22-909 year after year after year.
One of the things, please correct me if I'm wrong here, is that we are required to fund that group, okay? As far as what we have been getting out of it prior to the 2 years that I've been here, I'm not sure. Since I've been here, I know that one of the things that I came on board with was being asked to be a liaison with that group, and was very shortly after put on the board. The way a lot of people don't understand what economic developers do on a daily basis. One thing, and this is, the numbers have been down considerably this year, but one thing is that the state of Tennessee Economic Development Group or department and the TVA, those are two big ones for sending out RFIs. So when these companies, whether it be, it's mostly your manufacturers. You do have some large retailers that come through those groups, but it's mostly manufacturers in different sectors. They go through the state or through TVA and they say, this is what we want. And these are the states we're looking at. And then TVA or the state puts out what we call an RFI, request for information. Sometimes it's an RFP, which is request for proposal, and that is normally very detailed. An RFI is just send us what you've got property-wise and the basic stats. An RFP will actually come in a spreadsheet format, and you have to provide sample electric bills, you have to provide gas info. So when those things come in, and they could be, anywhere from 20 to 50 a year, the economic developer responds to those by compiling all that information, getting everything specific, and pretty much marketing the properties that we have available to those groups. Now, 9 times out of 10, you are competing with other states. You're obviously competing with other counties. I talked to Tyler recently, and he said that RFIs are down. They're just down. Nobody's sending anything out right now. So that's what we get from him on a daily basis, but that's on a county level. That's not on a town specific level.
Again, my question is, what value is this down the right contained on 22-909?
He responds to RFIs on a regular basis.
But what value is it bringing our town?
Well, I know that the property we have at Walmart, he has put up for numerous RFIs, the property behind Walmart. Jones. Carl, thank you. He's gonna kill me for that. Carl's property has been put up or marketed numerous times. Other than that, pretty much when I called him for information on this particular travel center, he provided information, he talked to the guy. I do know that the travel center was actually sent to us by economic development. But as far as directly to this town, that's the only thing that I can attribute to
But
it.
there again, you said that we're in the third, we have to be in that.
You do.
And is that portion of our part where the county pays and Irwin pays and we pay? So
Yes, that's a formula.
mandatory. So
Who decides that amount?
The state of Tennessee, to my knowledge, that is our portion of the state says you have to contribute something to economic development. To my knowledge, even if you had your own economic developer, that you would still have to pay it to the county.
Is there an interlocal agreement? Do we have an interlocal agreement that says we're gonna pay 22-9?
I've not seen that. But I,
That's
doesn't,
not-
that doesn't mean I don't have, we don't have it, it's because, our filings is
Well, I
less.
asked that question early on because I thought, what are we doing? They said because we're in the three together.
Yes, that's not a number you guys decided on. It was a number that you were told based on a formula. This is what you owe. Now, my thing with Tyler is now working up here 2 days a week. He has requested to work up here 5 days a week. While being here.
Which we get, that's another whole.
That's a whole other thing. But while being here, he helps us answer the phone, helps us cover the office when, like Trish was out the other day, I needed to run down and have a budget discussion with Debbie. If Tyler hadn't been here, I couldn't have gone. I'd have been stuck, or Debbie would have had to come to me. So
He has offered to pay, they can pay so much, for that.
I think that, I was on the board, and even back then, I really didn't see what all this thing, this town gained from the economic development. We're gonna pay them 22.9. We need to see results more than just hearsay results. I wanna see things happen.
We are on track to benefit.
Well, I'm just
And I
saying,
think having him here would probably help with that, because, for example, he posted on their social media the other day a picture of this travel center going up and did a whole thing on, look what's happening in Unicoi, because he's driving by that. If he had been at an office down at Irwin Utilities, yeah, he knows that's happening, but it's not gonna be on the forefront of his mind. He's got 3 meetings to go to. He's not gonna make a special trip out here to grab that photo and do that marketing. So I think having him here might give us a little extra.
I'm not picking on her, or
Tyler.
Howard, I'm sorry, I'm not picking on him at all. But I lived across the road 68 years. Before my dad passed away, I was his fire attorney for 12. He died in 93. And all these previous people and him have never once came to us and offered to put our property out there. Just saying.
Now, I will say this, as far as the full 68 years, I don't know. In the 2 years I've been here, I will say that Tyler had been instructed by the administration at that time that the only thing that this area right here at exit 32 was to be put up for was commercial. We did not want, and he was specifically told, do not try to bring industry to this right here, because they wanted to reserve this for commercial, retail, okay? Tyler really doesn't respond to commercial. Mostly what he does have a part in commercial and retail, but the majority of the RFIs that come through, in fact, not the majority, all of the RFIs that come through are for industry. They want 10 acres, 20 acres, they want a pad, they want access to utilities, all of these things. So I don't know if he wasn't putting these properties up because it didn't fit and, it wasn't retail.
I mean, seriously.
It would, but now as a board, you guys have to
And
decide.
it is marketable, and there's some of it that is somewhere out for sale. And I'm not picking on him because this happened before him too, it was like.
Put your property out there. I'd make sure they knew about
You know
your
what I'm
property and
saying,
see,
right?
but you take the
I mean,
initiative and
I
put your
know,
property.
I know firsthand is what I'm I'm not picking.
Well, I will make you very happy. If you have looked at the new website, your property is now on our website, and I have made Tyler aware of our website, so we have available properties at exit 32. Again, what Tyler does is mostly not retail related. It's mostly industry related.
well, I can tell you, I firsthand, they were told not to bring any industry to town in Unicoi. Period. Not just here, period. Okay?
Now, I do know that he has been putting up, because him and Carl have spoken.
Yeah.
Carl has given him permission to promote that property to industry at some point. I don't know when that happens. So I know that pretty much that's the only property. And again, that's something you guys have to decide as a board. Do you want an industry down here, or do you want retail? How does that look from a tax standpoint?
Why should they be a question? We need businesses. Why should that
Industries
be a
need
question?
buffer zones.
Why should that even be a question? We need, this town needs revenue, okay?
Absolutely.
And to say that, well, we need to choose one or the other, whatever kind of.
It's not that you have to choose one or the other, but when you have a retail space, if you're trying to grow this as a retail hub, it will be very difficult to put an industry in the middle of it. But both from the retailer standpoint and the industry standpoint, the industry wants buffer zones. The retailers don't want to be right next door to a factory. So,
But
In
none of
addition
this
to the
up
fact
here
we're not
is retail.
zoned for industry. in
None of this
all
up here
areas.
is retail or industry.
no, that's just, it's whatever you get. Now, right now, I think it's zoned for,
It just-
it's actually a business development
but the
area, isn't it?
reality
Yes,
is,
yes.
It's town government. I mean, the kitchen's not industry or retail, so. I mean, I just.
Three things I'm gonna say, since I've been involved with economic development, three things. Urban Utilities has done a study, paid for a study to evaluate the water pump sewer system out front of the golf course. Everybody knows needs to be upgraded. They have taken the initiative to evaluate that. Okay, as a first step to see what we can do with that golf course property. Okay. Number two, they have been involved in our discussions with Ken Ray and economic development about future use of the kitchen as a potential school, culinary school. Okay, economic development. Another economic development piece is if we ever as a town decide that we want to develop the Wiggin property on the other side of Tinker Road and put a frontage road in there and infrastructure to put retail across from Walmart on the same side of the interstate, which is town of Employee, the other side of the interstate is county. Economic development will help us secure funds to build out infrastructure so that we can recruit retail down there. Those are three things that I've already been involved with economic development for. And those are helpful. They are supportive. They will help us promote a direction that we want to go. And all those take time.
And the sign program.
And the signs on the interstate, if you have a business, you can put a placard up.
They'll help you get that.
And that's
They'll
like
help pay that
$1,000 a
initial fee.
month. And it's ridiculous, but anyway, don't help with that. Now, another thing that I know is going on with economic development is a project on the other side of the interstate from Walmart, which is likely to bring numerous people in to shop at Walmart. It's not going to be something that our town is involved in. But there's some other stuff that people are working with that are could bring more people through. It's going to increase the number of people coming through our town, and they will go to Walmart, they will go to Los Jalapenos, they will go to Primo's, even though it's not in our town, it's going to be people, and they will be coming there. So there are things going on that are going to benefit us. And my take on it, and I'm just going to have to say, I don't think, or that's a lot of money that goes out. And they were gonna like relook at the bylaws. Do you remember they had a discussion about the bylaws? And just to kind of make sure everybody was back on track with all the bylaws for economic development. And Debbie and I noticed something in the bylaws that said if you attend every meeting, you get a 10% discount. Well, 10% is $2,000. So we nudged each other and said, we got to figure out, you know what I mean? How do we make that apply? You know what I mean? When do we get that discount? Because it was in the bylaws. Anyway, so, yeah, we just kind of did each other like this.
I
and
just
we haven't talked about it.
I just think whatever it is.
It's background work. It's background work. It's not going to be stuff that you see. It's
In the main.
Right
it's
now, if you want-
underneath work.
Right
It's-
now, if you want to attribute something to that department that you can see, it's that travel center right there. The phone call came from Tyler Engel. He said, I've got somebody, I've given him your info. He will be calling you today. I said, okay. I got the call that afternoon, said I will be down there today to look at property. I said, okay. Judy, you were here that day as well. I called you to show us, because he only asked to see this property over here. Me being the hostess that I am, I thought if we're gonna have a prospect here, let's show them everything we've got. So we did, didn't we, Judy?
Yeah, we showed them a lot, right?
Yeah. I will say this, as far as industry, you may have more insight here, Roger, but from someone who spent 6.5 years, as someone who spent 6.5 years responding to those RFIs, and that was about 5 years ago, what I was seeing at that time, and I've asked Tyler, is that changing much? They were wanting 20 some acres. Of course, they want it flat as they can get it, and in East Tennessee, that doesn't happen very often. They didn't want to be too close to residential. They didn't want to be too close to, retail. And I know that there at one point was some property down near Wiseman's that we had looked at possibly for industrial development. The gentleman that owned it, put it on Greenbelt.
Sure, Anderson. The only thing I'm saying, we're gonna pay 22.9. We need to get some information periodically on what our money is in for, okay?
We should have some expectations of what's happening for us.
Okay.
And it's not,
Well, we do have meetings.
I was about to say,
on
we-
10 that you-
The three of us are all on that
We're all
board.
on.
We all go to those economic development. If you'd like, I could start including when we have those, like the packet from that and their board packet maybe.
Yeah.
Would that be helpful?
Just what I'm saying is, this is a citizen's money. We need to get feedback on how we're spending the citizens' money. What are we gaining from it? I don't know what Kathy's saying, but until we know that stuff, if somebody says, well, what are you doing with your money? I don't know. We can't answer the question.
Unfortunately,
Okay,
the
move on.
nature, economic development is so many times you don't see what's going on until you see a building going up. Because a lot of that is, ours wasn't as confidential, but when you're working with an industry, there's confidentiality signed that cannot be disclosed until they're ready to make an announcement. So it's the nature of the beast, I guess,
so
unfortunately.
with the industry calls here, are they welcome? If
Welcome.
the industry calls and wants to come to Unicoi, are they welcome?
Are they welcome?
The first thing they have to determine is, do we have a plot of land that they're looking for?
Yeah.
Just saying,
And we generally don't.
are they welcome if we find them a piece of land?
We're
I
probably not
think that's
gonna
up to the
zone,
administration.
I know the last administration said, no. No. And, I think we need to,
I mean, you do have some zones, that I think those are full, are they not? Okay.
I think a lot of people have, I just kind of gave up that I market my own, my brother and I marketed our own for the Dollar General, we take care of that ourselves. Actually, he put his property up for sale. And they didn't want just his, they wanted, that's what they got, is I mine and I his. And I done the negotiating myself. Of course, I called him and tell him what I was going to do and what I ended up with, and we went back and forth many times. But Johnny took credit, but he wasn't involved. He made them put the facade on the front of the building, cost them $9,000 more, I think, $8,000 or $9,000. But this is not part of this. I just wish we could let our citizens know if they do have land they would be willing to sell, we could log it in and pass it on. We might ought to be a little more user friendly because people don't really know where they stand right now. Does that make sense?
Tyler has a list of properties in the town of Unicoi that are on the list to be considered if somebody reaches out.
I think we need that.
And any of them that I was aware of are now on the website. There may be plenty that I'm not aware of.
And I think you also went into Asheville to do some things, even to bring stuff on over this way, didn't you? But Tyler, did you have a meeting that you went with Asheville or the economic talking about? Because I know they called me, I don't know about how much you charge for rent, that's on the rental part.
Okay, yes. Well, I mean, I get a lot of information from Tyler. He's a good resource when we are looking at things like that. And retail follows retail. So I think what you're talking about is retail, they went with Buxton, okay? So the Economic Development Board hired Buxton, which is a sort of retail recruitment firm. They focus more on just the statistics that you're gonna need to provide to retailers. We actually went through the Retail Academy, me, Debbie, and Johnny. I had actually been through that before and worked with Retail Strategies. But Retail Strategies did us some guide work, which I have given to Kathy to look at. And that gave us what retail businesses fit our area based on our statistics, based on what we have available properties and things. So it gave us some people to recruit, if you will. The problem is retail recruitment's a little different than industrial recruitment. Tyler can have a hand in that, but I don't know how far he can go with that. So that's kind of where it's left up to a team of us, I think. I could be wrong. I think that that's a discussion we definitely need to have with Tyler as to what, I know certain organizations, how do I want to word that? Focus more on industry than on retail, but I know that Tyler sees the importance of retail. So I think that's definitely a discussion as to how much involvement he can have there. But I'm of the mindset and have said numerous times, we pay Tyler. Let's get him involved on every project we have, you know, because we do pay that money. So let's get our money's worth.
Okay, before we move on, are we ready to move on to another department and do the rec? Or, I wanted to tell you all at the beginning that I didn't, in this budget, we have included a 5% raise for the full-time employees. We did not have a raise in this current year that we're in due to the pandemic. I think I kind of talked about that last on BMA meeting, that we were trying to be very conservative, not knowing what the revenue is going to be. So just bear that in mind, that we talked about, Kathy and I talked about a range, and we decided to go on the 5%, and we can talk about that a little bit more, the difference in, you know, what that was in our current payroll and what it would be with the 5%. So I just wanted to put that out there before she starts on her park and rec budget.
Well, one of the things that, you know, I got it from you now, the increase, but 2 years ago, we got people that got raises of 5%, 9.6%, 11%, 13%. 2 years ago. So we need to keep in mind how much we given out, even though they didn't get anything last year. Still, usually the norm is 2 or 3%. Or at least you gotta get the amount of increased cost of living. But 2 years ago, we did give a whole bunch of raises. A whole bunch of raises. Some people have not got any. But I'm not going to list the names. We just need to keep that in mind. We did give some extraordinary raises out 2 years ago.
These meetings Kathy and I've been at, it's been more like 2 or 3, right?
I've heard some files.
We did?
I think how our budget's going to manage, I think it's going to be today.
Okay, well, when you all want to talk about, you know, the differences in percentage, I have some numbers to go over. But you want to go on right now with the park and rec department?
I just thought that's what you brought it.
Well, I just wanted everyone to know that this budget for the requested 21-22 year does have a 5% increase on full-time employees.
Now, that based on the amount, the actual last budget or the projected actual?
It's based on what they make now. It's just an increase in what they're making right now.
Okay, the current budget.
Mhm. And I think in some cases, if a phone is provided, I've had to lump the phone in there. Now we may have a way around having to have that taxed, based on some information that we got from the auditor. But right now I have the phone allowance in there, and I have the $200 that we gave at Christmas. So it's, you know, the salary, including the raise, and then plus the phone, and plus the $200 Christmas bonus.
And I'm gonna be honest, I kind of stay out of the salary part and taxes.
Yeah,
payroll
they usually
taxes.
don't do the salary part or the payroll taxes. I do that. And
I
then-
did provide her some information just so that I don't think that Trish's overtime had been budgeted
Right,
previously.
and we increased that because of
Yes.
some of the events, and also, we don't know what our health insurance is gonna be at this point. We didn't find that out last year until almost near the second reading of the budget. I'm probably gonna figure that that's got an increase in there, but I don't know if it's enough for what we'll get. Our state retirement went from 0.0579 to 0.0580, so it's, nothing, not really a penny, but just a little bit of an increase, so that's pretty much the same as far as the TCRS rate. And then,
And then back to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so really I start down here at membership dues. That is for NETA, that is the Northeast Tennessee Tourism Association, which by the way, if I can make that deadline next week of the 28th, 27th, we are going to be putting in a nomination for a Pinnacle Award for the train project under partnership, because we were able to get so much of that money covered. Our investment was supposed to be, much more, and I don't have those numbers in front of me right this moment, but our estimated cost was a little higher, I think maybe 9, and we got that with like 3,000 or 4,000, because so much product was donated to get that project done. So I had a discussion with the director of NETA, and she does think that would not only qualify, but would be a very strong candidate for an award. So I do think that NETA is an important thing for us to be a part of. Electric and water, telephone, internet, all of that is just kind of based on what we have been doing. I think telephone, internet, that was something else. Building maintenance, I know that we put into that one this year the cost of the decorations for the outside like fall decorations and Christmas decorations. That was falling under fall festivals, and whether or not we have an event at Christmas, we still decorate for Christmas. So I just really felt like that needed to be under building maintenance and general maintenance, because the maintenance department does handle all that. They go get it. I just see a receipt. So we did put that in there, and that's the reason for that increase. Travel and education, not much of a change there. The other contractual services, that is Vince, correct? No, yeah. Is that cleaning?
That's cleaning,
I thought cleaning was under visitor center.
not all of it.
Okay, so part of the cleaning is under the other contractual service. The other part there is Vince, who is our computer guy that comes monthly to check the computers. Office supplies, office supplies went up some because we do go through a lot. Office equipment has gone up considerably because we need new equipment. We need new computers. I've got Vince refurbishing the old computer from the PR director. Hers is, we're 5 weeks out from Strawberry Festival, and hers computer is freezing up almost on a daily basis. And I just called him the other day. I said, we cannot have her computer crashing in the next 4 weeks. That's not something that we can really handle right now. So he is working on refurbishing a computer for her. That should be $100, $200, somewhere in there. After the discussions at the last workshop, I heard very clearly that this board does not want personal computers used. My personal computer is being used for this department, and I'm paying for a considerable amount of money for programs each year that I personally pay for. I saved my budget from that. I paid for them before I came here. I continue to use those programs for the benefit of this town without charging anybody anything. But we're gonna need to we're gonna need to get a computer.
And why are you using your personal computer?
It is a Mac. It can run every graphic design program. It can have a gazillion tabs open. It's the top of the line. Obviously the one that I'm looking to have the town purchase is not at that same level, but it will still be at a level that we can get things done. I pay for Photoshop. I pay for an InDesign program. I pay for PicMonkey. I pay for a lot of things just out of my own pocket that I have for years as a freelance designer that doesn't get charged here. It's over $630 some a year just to have all the Photoshop apps or the Adobe apps. Okay. It's $75 and some a year for, I think, the PicMonkey. Obviously the computer is quite expensive because it's a Mac. Macs are, my Mac was about $2,500. The one I'm looking to get for the department will be around the $1,100 to $1,200 mark. So it won't be the top end, because I got and now I will say this, I will need a screen, but I'm sure somewhere we have a screen around here because I have the larger screen laptop. I can put a screen and hook it to the laptop for bigger, because it'll be a smaller laptop. Just to save money, because I figured we didn't want to go for the high end one. But that's where we're at on technology. We also have looked at getting a square. I'm talking to Debbie about that. One of the things, we don't make a lot of sales through the visitor center here. And one thing that we notice is that people come in often off the road and they'll want to buy a t-shirt, or they'll want to buy a 50-cent, well, normally not 50 cents. They'll want to buy a $5 something, or they'll want to buy a hat. And we say, we can only take cash. We don't get that sale because they go, I don't have cash. So, no, they don't. Huh?
I still want the.
Yes, we've got them saved for you. I had a note on. So I feel like if we had a way, I'm going to be honest, if we don't want to do it, we don't have to. But with the train, we're looking at getting some train t-shirts and things, because those railroaders will buy stuff. They're always asking if we have anything for them to buy. We don't right now. It's kind of embarrassing in 2021 to tell somebody that as a visitor center, we don't have a credit card machine. Now, a credit card machine is going to cost us a lot of fees. The Square, it does have some fees, and there's a little upfront investment, but we're still looking into how that would work. Would it be beneficial to us? So it's an option we're going, and this number does include that.
I'd like to back that up on what she said. What equipment is not town property that you're using?
My computer.
Well, the personnel policy is real clear.
I had permission. I had permission from Kathy. I had permission from Johnny. The first thing that when Kathy took over, I sat down and explained to her that situation. And I said, do you want me to continue to use this? Do I have your permission to do that? Our policy specifically states against it. I explained to her why and all the
I
programs. She
told her
said
she could continue.
she's told me to continue until we decided, what the board wanted to do.
And I don't know what y'all know.
Now, I will say this.
Between a Mac and a standard.
There's a big difference.
There's a huge
You
Mac.
can't do on what I have, and this is my personal computer, but I'm using it as a flash drive. I'm not connected to the network, just for me to be able to do the budget, because I don't have a laptop. She's using a Mac because of the graphic designs that she does on our
Video.
our
Macs are, if you're
It's
gonna
just
do
a
graphic
different
design, you gotta have a Mac. I'm sorry.
And I
My
will-
sister was a graphic artist and she did everything on a Mac. Even 20 years ago when they were, so anyway, so I let her keep her Mac. Now, if we
And-
want
and
to
please
replace
know
her
that the
Mac, that's
files-
fine. That's why it's in the budget. That's
The
why it's in
files
budget.
are all kept on the drive. Does that make sense? They're in the cloud. So it's not like I don't have my budget on the computer and that's where it's saved. And if I take off tomorrow, you don't have that file. The files for the department are kept on the Google Drive. That's actually where I work from. Because I don't even have Excel on my Mac. I use the cloud version.
I just don't think, I understand why y'all done this, I get it. But I think if we're gonna have you doing this job, we ought to supply you with those.
Well,
Okay, and
that's what I'm
why it's in the
asking for
budget.
approval.
So that's where she's, yeah.
That's why we got that
I
so
don't know
much.
how y'all feel, but if it tears on to pieces, what are you gonna use and where you gonna get the money?
Well, I will say this.
We shouldn't expect you to have to do that.
Exactly. And it was just, as I said, I didn't feel like I could take a new job and expect y'all to buy me an expensive Mac that was gonna work for what I needed when I already had it. But yes, this will extend the life of my personal computer. So that makes me
And we'll
happy.
put her in compliance with our employee policy.
Yes.
I mean,
I think we're
I'm
we
not
need
for
to
a
do
lot
it.
of spending, but I think,
We need to do it.
I don't know how you feel, but
Well, we need to supply the materials people need, but at the same time, we need to stand behind our personnel policy, or do we do?
Okay, so that's what we're doing. I mean, I think we accomplished that here.
Yes.
I'm just saying,
Okay.
I'm just
and
saying,
that way, if you got sick for a month, somebody else needs to use it.
Well, now I will say this, if I'm sick for a month, all of my files are still accessible. The only
No,
thing
but
they,
I'm just saying, our computer could be here, and then you could do what you want to do for us.
oh yeah, no,
You see what
I'm
I'm
a big
saying?
proponent of this. Absolutely. That's why we're requesting the money to
See, I
do
didn't
this.
know this, I just assumed you was using the county computer.
That's my computer.
And that's why we're in the budget.
Yeah, I'm just.
Okay.
And that's why I wanted to explain, that's a pretty big jump from projected use of $48 to $2,700. So I needed to explain why that was.
Well, and the $48 is just a projection based on what you've used
Yeah.
this far, but even $100 budgeted is not really enough. If you have a printer go out, or if you have something, go out.
Where does the Rico printer, where does that come from?
I think it's split up between, it might be part of your contractual sales.
Okay.
I think
maybe
it's
coming out
split
of
up
that.
between
Okay, gotcha.
maybe the Welcome Center and your Park and Rec. I think we kind of split it up. Okay, so,
Talk about the caboose recreation project.
The caboose, okay, so we have the exterior finished. Of course, the original plan for that project was to do the outside first, then in the next budget cycle to do the inside. And at that point, create a small museum in there that would be the gateway to this region as far as railroad tourism, okay? When we advertised this project, when we put up the videos of the move and all of that that we had done back then, we had tons of railroaders from the general railroad community that expands the entire country saying, can't wait to come visit that. Can't wait till this project is finished and we can come visit. And I'm talking from hours and hours away, sometimes states away. So that was some positive feedback because tourism, as you know, Jonesboro, Johnson City's got a train museum, Jonesboro's got their display, I think Bristol's got a display, I think Kingsport has a display. So people are already coming to the area for that. This was a way for us to take advantage of that, and especially if they're coming from the North Carolina region, coming in on this interstate, we're that first thing they come to, except Craggy Mountain Line. Most of them don't know Craggy Mountain Line exists. I do think it's something we have every day. People coming, well, not every day, but almost every day. We have people coming through here just to look at the train, asking, what is that? Oh, that is cute. Tell me about this. Then we have the railroaders that come every week just to see her, just want to look at her. We are going to do a railroad roster, and I'm very excited. Kathy has now decided we're going to open that up to the county. It was just for Unicoi citizens only on that roster, and I really think that this entire county was a railroad county. So I think that that'll be something positive. Once we can get through the Strawberry Festival, we'll start promoting for that. But I have talked to Rocky over at Craggy Mountain Line, who's done the work. He has been great to work with. And I'll say this, Rocky has saved us tons of money. Even when he did the outside, he had said, this is how much money it's going to cost. So that's how much money we set aside, and that's how much money we had in writing that we could have paid him. He comes back to me and says, well, hold on, I didn't need it all. How many people you know come back and say, I don't really need all the money I told you? Most of them would just pocket that for profit. He doesn't. He doesn't do that for profit. He does it to cover his cost and to restore historical railroad memorabilia. So I've gotten this quote, this 3,540, 3,500. I really think maybe there's something else in there, but it was about 3,500 that he said it was going to take to do the inside, which includes the glass. If you'll notice, there's a crack in the glass. We've got to replace the glass, and then to renovate the inside, which actually doesn't need that much work, to make it able for people to come through. Now, what that price does not include is, and the plan was for the guys to build it, a ramp and porch so that people can access it, because insurance says that's too big of a step to climb. And as someone who climbs that step frequently, I'll tell you it's too big of a step to climb.
ADA compliance.
ADA compliance, because it is a railroad car and it's not something that we can actually renovate, we cannot widen the doors. So you will not be able to get a wheelchair inside, but the purpose for the ramp would be ADA compliant. And really we were told it didn't have to be ADA compliant because of what it is. But if you have to remember, the people that this is for are 80 years old. A lot of them, they're on walkers, they're in wheelchairs. So having that ramp up, actually, if you're over by the pavilion looking at it, the ramp would go up this way. And what they can do is then come up that ramp and they can get on the porch area and they can look into it, even if they can't get a wheelchair all the way through it. And I'll tell you, I meet these guys. So if one of them's in a wheelchair, unless he absolutely does not have the use of his legs, he's gonna find a way to get inside that train. These men, I mean, it's just, it warms their heart.
Are we going to, refresh my memory, I do not remember the answer to this question. When people's name goes on the roster, are we going to recruit those names in any form or fashion that will financially help us support the renovation? Even $5, even, or did we even, is that even anything that ever came up?
My suggestion was for a couple of dollars, $5 to get on there.
Or put their name in and then ask for a donation?
The last administration said that there needed to be no charge, but it was also just restricted to town and
Well, with no charge maybe, but ask for a donation.
We could do that,
Or
or,
charge.
to be honest, I don't know anybody that wouldn't pay $5 to have their dad's name on there. Do you?
But what happens when, you know, the night that Miss Irwin came in and asked us to take this thing, I got the information from Debbie, I didn't bring it, but so far we've spent for 20 years, about $13,000 on this train, this caboose. And we were told it wasn't gonna cost us nothing. Well,
Yeah, the previous year, if you look on your
if you look at
your budget, we spent $4,075.
I was gonna say, we never spent 13,000.
And then we're projecting to spend $7,923 this year. So yeah, you're about right.
You gave me
That-
that paper.
Yeah, that,
But what happened to the volunteers that was gonna do all this work and do these projects and pay for it? We was, as a town, sold on that. But that's
well, I think
how
the
this money
4,000, we kind of like moved it, we had to pay to move it up here.
I know. all
Had to
that.
pay to get that track fixed. A
No,
lot of
we
it was
didn't pay.
volunteer though.
I was
for-
gonna say, Tyler Lynch, and he provided an employee and
But we still
himself.
spent this much money.
Mhm.
And we
Yeah.
weren't supposed to have to spend nothing except to move it. And these volunteers was gonna paint and rub and label and dig out.
Well,
And
I
now
think
we're
they
talking about.
decided after there was asbestos or something in the paint, we didn't want volunteers to
Oh, I
be,
know that.
you know,
We
with
all
the-
knew that beforehand.
Now, I will say this, the reason that we're putting up for a partnership award is the fact that the rails were donated. The rock we've got at cost. We got the hardware for the rails for free. A lot of the labor, actually, majority of the labor was free, the work on it. We paid for one tractor trailer to move part of it, the other tractor trailer was donated. There's more than I see that was donated.
But that's okay, I'm just saying, what went to, it's gonna have all kinds of people that was exciting. I mean, I was down there, you was there, all these presentations, these railroad men that had done all this work down at Jonesburg, and they was all lined up ready to work. And
We can't go back.
then
We can't go back and fix any of that.
How much are we?
All we can do is move
By
forward.
the time we build this ramp and we get the inside opened up, what's our total gonna be? You know, I mean, are we gonna spend a little bit this year, a little bit next year, how's that gonna work?
Well, and that was the way it was meant to not, for the town not to take a huge hit. It was meant to just phase by phase, what could we do financially? Now, I'll say that $4,000 that we spent would have probably been double had it not been for all of the volunteer hours, for all of the equipment and materials that were donated. I mean, that was a huge feat. It was. So that number really should have been around the 8,000 mark, and it only came in at 4,075. So I think that does
As I
show all.
recall, the number that Irwin had been banding about when they were looking at taking the caboose was $25,000. So, you know, we've got it here in a lot less money than what they were talking about getting it for.
But that, you know, that ramp is not one that you set around 3,000 for.
No, the 3,500 is for just the inside of the, like, the
The ramp's
windows.
not in.
The ramp's not in,
even in this.
no, ramp's not in this part.
So.
But we have it here, what are we gonna do?
And, you know, I do
And we
want to
have
say to
people
you,
that want to see it, I'm looking.
I do want
What
to
are we
say that
gonna
we
do?
have I've done some research on, the Airbnb experiences and things. There is in fact, there is, somewhere over in Jonesboro, and I want to go see it for myself. They rent out their train. You can take a sleeping bag and spend the night in the train, okay? If that's something, now granted, I have not had that discussion with insurance yet, she may pop me over the head when I bring that up. But we could let, if people wanted to rent it for a birthday party, I mean, granted, you already get it with the pavilion, but you don't get the keys to go inside of it. You could have, if we had it renovated on the inside, it's something you could use to rent out as well, or do an overnight, come and stay in a historical train overnight. That's happening a lot over the US. That's not really for me, but I'm not gonna grab a sleeping bag, but a lot of people would. And so those are some options for us, maybe ways, I'm gonna say very small revenue streams. I don't think by any means that's gonna break the bank, but there are options out there for you.
Okay, and then just to wrap it up, she's got building insurance that's 2,600, and there's no control over that. It is what it is. And so you want to move to page 5 and go through the visitors information center items.
Okay. Honestly, on visitor center,
There's nothing really that stands out except the fact that we took that food forest out. That was the $10,000 that was in there. Because we just did.
well, nobody has expressed
It's like,
interest
It's
in the
been
food
in there
forest.
for years.
I know, and it's just like, I think,
There's nobody to do the project is the problem. I think it was
Yeah.
a
So we-
summer project by an intern, but then, I don't know. There's nobody to do that.
and there's part of your cleaning and,
Yeah, that big.
so there's nothing really in here except that we did take that food forest thing out. That's something y'all want to pursue. It can always be put back in, but
That cleaning service.
I just
did
felt
we-
like,
The cleaning service, did we bid that out each year, or we just hired
it
somebody?
it was bid out, and actually, the lowest bid never would respond to us.
Yes.
And so we went with the next one, which was the Fabuloso, and it's working out really well. They do town hall, they do here, the kitchen, and we
I
kind
love coming in and
of, they will clean the cabin as well.
Now, we
We
will
just do
have,
that on occasions.
I was
but-
gonna say, this price does not include the inside of the cabin. This price only includes the cabin restrooms, okay? We do have as stipulation in the contract that if we need any other service from them, we can discuss that. They'll give us a price and we can add that on a case-by-case basis. I'm not sure where we stand with the history group as far as, I know that the history group has always done the cleaning inside the cabin because they're there every week. They have their events there and things. So they've always kept up the cleaning on the inside and we've not had to do it. Now that we have opened the facility to public use, we will have to have it cleaned before someone uses it. We will then probably have to have it cleaned afterwards, especially with COVID. That being said, that could take that number up. We just don't know how many times we're gonna need to have it cleaned. We don't know what that, I think it was about $50 last time. No, it was
No, it was
100,
because we
but
did
it was a
clean.
deep clean
It's a deep
because
clean.
it hadn't been cleaned like in a whole season.
I mean, it was bad.
So I think we could probably get by with like $50, $60 per cleaning on that. But that is something that we need to think about because with just simply opening up and having events, you can't rent a dirty facility. So now that being said, I don't have anybody on the list to rent it anytime soon, other than, just the history group had used it for the Easter event. I do have a request to use this room. Just got that yesterday. I've not had a good chance to look at it yet, but it's one of those, I want to say UT Extension. They want to use it for like a seminar series throughout the summer. I'm really pull it up, but I gave you the wrong info.
Okay, this 4,500, that, any places that cover, Betty? That's line 290, cleaning service, is that just here at the visitor center?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, UT Extension.
Are you under Parks and Rec or where are you? I've moved on to.
Page 12.
Well, I want to buy it.
Yeah, he's under
He's
visitor
on fire.
information, other
Okay, I'll-
contractual services, the 4,500
Yeah.
there.
That's just here. Isn't it?
I think that's included, no, we have the, trailhead and the cabinet in on that too, because they were
Yeah.
so minor.
Yeah.
So that includes, that price for that includes this visitor center, the trailhead and the cabinet.
So $375 a month. That's how much?
Debbie sees that bill.
Actually, the bill is, when we get it, is every 2 weeks. I think it's 400, and then it's split out. We code it to where it goes to the different
And the
departments.
majority of times to me,
When we
because I've
pay
got
it.
it in most facilities, and then the kitchen, of course, and town hall.
Yeah.
The request I have is from UT Extension Office. They would like to use the Buffalo room for 6 weeks in the summer on Thursday nights from 6 to 9. So I've got to get back with her on pricing and everything like that. But I don't have any requests for the cabin as of right
How is that gonna work?
For the cabin.
now. How is what going to work?
If 6 to 9, how is that gonna work with closing up or opening
I
up?
don't know.
We're gonna have to figure out that.
I don't know. We've not,
Do we have a key drop box?
we
We do
have,
at town hall.
Huh?
We have a drop box at town hall, people can drop stuff in.
Well, we have a
Bills,
little box that you can slide in a newspaper or books or something.
Can
It's
slide
fine.
in. Could just run it
You
in.
could if you put it in something.
Put it in an envelope.
I worry very much about giving keys out. Like even if it's just.
No, well, okay, well, they can just lock the door. One of our officers.
The police officers might be a good use since they're already out on duty. That might be a really good use, because I'll be honest, I'm in my PJs at that hour.
Just moved it about an hour out.
So is Trish, but we'll do what we need to do. If we call the maintenance guys in, it's an automatic 2 hour that you have to pay them.
Huh?
So we would charge you for it.
No, we don't.
Under the new guidelines.
Anybody that uses it.
Anybody that uses it, unless you're wanting to waive that fee. But I'll say the majority of people that use this facility or have requested to, it's been for nonprofit stuff. So if we decide we're gonna waive the fee for nonprofits, we won't make it on us.
We'll be cleaning all the time.
Okay, are we at a point where we can take a break? Like a 10-minute break? We've got the guys over here, they're wanting to talk about the police department.
Am I done?
I think you are.
Yeah.
Are you? Is that good? Did I
That's
catch
good
y'all?
for me. It's good for you guys. Does anybody have any more questions for me? Oh, we didn't talk about events.
Okay,
We didn't talk about events.
special events, we need to talk about that.
Okay, then I'll stick.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, darn it. How about I get
Sorry, I cut you off. You're good. I need to take.
I can talk.
I do need to take a break.
Do you just want to get up, or is there something I can bring to you, Miss Lois?
I need to get up.
Okay, I know that feeling too. I need to try to reach down here. I can't move my neck.
I have the same feeling.
Oh, I put something in my nose. I slept on the other night and I can't go past that. That's why, Roger, when I have to look at you, I have to turn to you because I can't turn my neck that far. I can go to the left a little
And
further.
you need that long around person. Maybe.
I can stop the recording, I can't stop the live feed and go back to it. But I can
How about that,
pause the
Like,
Are you?
they'll hold it in the water. They'll hold it in the water.
She's gonna talk.
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
oh.
I see you, I like that. Ha, there's your letter.
You know, Mark Irvin assured us it would cost the town nothing to get that caboose moved. And I got in trouble over that question in Mark about that. Getting the letter.
At least hold it and post Monday. People lined up in hell.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just fire and stuff. I know, because I Yeah.
I think my kid was down too.
You gotta.
And you have to copy that I can put up on the board.
So I put the amount, I just don't have any of that, but if you can provide it to me, I can put it up and it's just.
For him,
So like with the public.
well, I mean, I have it on my flash drive.
You don't, so you don't have it like on. And you have to have that plugged in there?
Yeah.
I would have to have that plugged in up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just put your portion of it.
Yeah, and. You wanna try to fix that at lunch, during lunch break? Because during lunch break, what we can do.
And you want to have Trish make some copies of that?
I'll
You make some copies of it.
We're making copies of it and then lunchtime we'll just.
We'll see about it. Yeah, I really want to control that.
You don't wanna be out.
I mean, I really want to be able to use my mouse.
I would just leave it out long enough to copy it onto the drive,
Mhm.
so that we can post it down and give that back.
Okay.
But that would have to be a lunch.
We'll talk about
Okay.
We will talk about.
This is one of the things, I do what I do, in the mornings, I know my students things and different things, and then I bring them home, and that's not too good. And there is that, I usually, I haven't called it, they said, they really, because see, that's the reason, it's the good. We're here talking about all our diets, about this, what we should, you know, what we, you know.
Oh, really?
All this and stuff.
I've tried to, this place blew it today for me, totally blew it today. With all this food y'all got. It's a.
She said, the other one, we haven't taken much blood around. I said, oh, well, here it comes. I didn't expect that. She said, nothing right. It's fine. She said, it's usually stuff. My question is but I don't hardly like I let stuff down. And they're just mostly out there for screws. You know, screws that like a corn chip, you put like your sauce down in.
Oh, okay.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, I don't either. I don't
I
either.
told the doctor, I think it looks like this. I just don't, it don't matter how much I got down. So we gave him, he said, I'll give you some information. And like, it says, the runs, her funds and conference for snacks. But it's got, some that's really, but yes, good stuff. Fruits, each stuff that ends in berries. Strawberry, blueberries, like this.
You can eat anywhere.
Go back. Right. So that's right.
I was supposed to look for, I did not do it last night, I'm sorry. I was supposed to get online and look for a hot box that fits in the back of the truck. This is one you pull behind.
Yeah.
We need to, yeah, we need to go back and look at the one in the back. And these are pull behinds. I think those others will be cheaper. Those others
They even said that
will be cheaper.
they have the fire, the water department, you know, they got their own.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I hate to duplicate, but yeah, if they've got one, it'd be nice if we could borrow it.
They will check into it. You know, because they said, I wouldn't have to be so.
If they would.
I know a lot of times on, when I see a lot of.
Yeah, if they do a cut, like.
They go around with, Maple Grove going around the school.
Yes.
They go to two bedrooms,
Yeah.
I know that you want to be different, but that's where the lot of times
They had to cut, yeah.
A lot of times they, it's not patched up as good, so a lot of it's broken into houses and.
Yeah, yeah.
So they may work on, because some of those, they say, the company, they go.
Well, we could replace their fence.
I mean, there is, it's true, it will, it's worth looking at, you know, because for what it comes to cost.
Right.
Yeah. So we want to do this, what we got to do with, right?
Yes.
It's like we're on the budget, you know. And there's always, you know, the road, you know. And there's also, you know, we always have to have some.
And those cold patches don't hold like a hot patch. You know what I mean? I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Anyway. But I was supposed to look that up. I did not do it last night, Debbie, I'm sorry. I went to a farm bureau meeting today. What? I didn't look up the hot box I was supposed to look up. Oh, well, that's okay. I got a number plugged in there. We can always adjust it. Okay.
I did a land.
Are we reading? Maybe give That'd take long to review.
She wants to go through her special events, and then we can move on to points. Because I forgot that. I'm sorry, good job. I want them to see.
Don't give any opportunity to comment. Go.
And really, it's just basics. I just want to make sure they understand that I've tried to fix a few things that on the accounting side, we just didn't, you couldn't see.
Okay, let's go ahead and we've had a break. Let's go ahead and get started.
Because that falls under your general,
Yeah, where is it?
falls under general, something. Central staff. It's other government expenses, general government, page 6. There were a lot of, I talked to Julia today, and she had a lot of ideas for this. But she said she hadn't talked to you about it. But I explained that you know, the budget I presented doesn't include those things.
Third conversation, maybe 10 minutes of it. It's freezing in here.
So now that we've had the public discussion.
Yeah, cold, it's down to 60 something. Somebody made it down to the 60s.
69, do you want to bump it up?
About the representative.
Wow.
Does anybody want any more bagels before we pull up to swap over for lunch?
Any more bagels? Anybody want more bagels? Going.
She's gonna start the swapping your process.
Okay, now we can, let's get it.
All right. Well, you call them to order, because I
Okay,
don't
are
have.
we ready to go over events?
And I'll keep this short and simple. Page 6,
Under
other governmental expenses. Yeah. Obviously, we cannot look at past pandemic numbers for this past year because we didn't get to have Smart Big Festival. So please, when you're looking at what's been sent in the past, look at that 2019 actual versus, you know, the other. And keep in mind, 4th of July is split between 2 budget years. All right. So when I do that, it gets a little tricky for me, doesn't it, Debbie?
Yeah.
Because, you know, the fireworks and things have to be paid out in June. So that's under this budget cycle, whereas the stage and some other things get paid out afterwards. So that's how we've got that. Strawberry Festival, the big thing I want you to know with the Strawberry Festival, number one is there wasn't enough money budgeted that was being spent out. And when I came on board, I was told you will always go over budget on Strawberry Festival. And I just prefer that if we know that the cost is going to be there, let's go ahead and change that number. So we're not going over something, we're being realistic. So I've changed that to be more realistic. That being said, one other thing I think was a big misconception was that the town actually paid out $12,000 for a festival. We don't. Most of the time festivals should, no, not most time, almost every single time, a festival should be making money, a fundraiser. If not, you stop if it's not making money within 3 years, you quit having the festival. This one's a little different. While you weren't spending a full 12,000, when I went through what revenues were coming off of it, which weren't being reflected anywhere, you were spending a few thousand on a festival, okay? Still more than I wanted to see. My goal for this year is to break even. I would like to give a special shout out to Trish, who in 3 days was able to come up with almost $2,000 in sponsorships. That is almost $2,000 in sponsorships over what we had for last year. So my goal is to bring in more sponsorships to offset the cost of the festival so that hopefully we can break even and eventually make a profit on that. So that's where we're going with that. Fall festivals has gone up because we needed to accurately show what was in the fall. Now the spring festival is very small because really the only thing that spring has is a movie and a car show. Which the movie's taking the majority of that. Movie takes 1,000. In the fall, we do we do 2 movies, one in July, one in August. We do an open house, Christmas, well, actually, I think we nixed this Christmas bus tour. We do a Christmas event, we do the open house, and some point before that, we do the Halloween. Now, we have not traditionally had a Halloween event. We have been asked for 2 years, are you going to have a Halloween event, from people in the community? You know, do you have anything for Halloween? Do you have anything for Halloween? I hate going down to Irwin and getting in that mess. We don't. But if I've got people asking for it, let's look at something. So originally the idea was to have an event out on the farm because it created a creepy situation or environment without a lot of money on decorations. I don't know what we're going to do, but we're brainstorming on ideas for maybe something up here at the pavilion. I know the fire department said at one point that they might do like a haunted house inside of their facility, that we could do something in conjunction with them. So we're still working on that. But those are the 2 movies. some sort of Halloween event, open house, and Christmas event, all falls under that fall festival line item. So that's why we needed 13,000 there. And as far as, let's see, fall festival, spring festival, and the rest of that's not us. So, any questions?
Yes, you've got 300,000 for the amphitheater.
I have that.
Yeah, I don't have anything to do with that.
That's not her.
It'll come later in discussion.
Do what?
It'll come later in discussion.
Well,
Yeah, these are the only ones out of my, this is a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay.
And I just have these 4th of July, Strawberry Fall, and Spring Festivals under this one.
And I'm sorry, I'm acting really ignorant. What is Spring Festival with JE?
Journal entry?
It's a journal.
A journal
entry. If you'll notice that, that first column had a $40, which is a
Yeah.
negative.
Yeah.
It was a auditor entry that, Tina had incorrectly coded an invoice.
Okay.
So the auditors made an adjustment. So it took it out of that line item to put it where it was supposed to be.
Okay.
That's why I put JE there, 1, 2, 3, so it would remind me. No, it's a journal entry.
Going back to that Strawberry Festival, what I want you to see under revenues, and I don't have that right in front of me, I know that's at the front, but one thing that we've done different on the Strawberry Festival is the reason people thought that that pay was so high is there was no revenue line item specifically for Strawberry Festival. It was all going in our miscellaneous revenue. You guys need to be able to track. So we now have revenue line items.
If you'll go on page 1, it shows in the third
Okay.
section her revenue.
Yes, so I worked with Debbie to get us a revenue line item for booth spaces, so we could say exactly from year to year how much we're either growing or declining on booth spaces. We have t-shirt sales, and then the t-shirt sponsors, and then the other sponsors. We also have a strawberry, actually, that's wrong. We got to change that, Debbie. That's Fall Festival donations, not Strawberry Fall Festival.
Okay.
But we have some line items now that will show that revenue coming in, and I understand that government books don't technically show like a balance sheet, but you could theoretically take your expenditures and your revenues, put them side by side, and you can see that offset. So I hope that'll help you guys in the future, because I know that helped me. I needed to know where our money was coming from.
You don't
And there
think
was no
that
way.
Strawberry Festival costs 12,500?
Hmm?
You don't think that it costs the 12,500?
Oh, over on the expenditures?
Yes.
I do actually think it'll cost the 12.5. Now, I'm doing everything I can to save, and I'm not at that 12.5 mark right now. But based on what had been done in previous years, we would have hit that 12.5 mark. If we had not brought in more sponsorships this year, we would absolutely hit that 12.5 mark.
Okay, question. We used to give to the Imagination Library, and others don't have anything. Kathy, you pushed that one for years.
Yeah, but is that on page 6?
We do,
I'm
we
on
got
page-
$500 now
I'm on 6.
on page 10. 794 line, well, it's the 4,420, but 200, 794, imaginary library.
It's
what we
on
got
there.
500.
Well,
It's on page 10. It's $500.
do we need to mark out the one here on page 6?
Take it out.
We don't have nothing on
I don't know.
Yeah, I just moved it to where the others were.
Okay, mark through that. Okay.
Okay, well, if you guys don't have any other questions on events, then I'm gonna get out of your way and let the police department take over.
Well, I can't follow anything now. Are we gonna put anything here to fix our flare beds out the interstate?
Yeah, it's in the gateway enhancement line item. As soon as it warms up, they'll fix it. I mean, it's,
Well, I'm just looking here at, that was a grant here, 34,000. Okay.
Kathy, do you have any other questions for me?
No, I'm good.
Sounds good. Thank you guys very much for your time. I'm gonna go pick up your lunch.
we appreciate that.
Don't need to make a donation.
Make sure she doesn't charge us tax.
I'll say don't need to make a donation. What? Don't need to make a donation. Don't hurt me. $2. Sounds like you
I think Ashley lives in her office. That's a little farm out here. So she brings it farms there. And my husband keeps saying, "Well, it's such a look, it's just a piece of work there." So I am.
Is there something wrong, Judy?
No. Yeah, because I'm gonna scratch around.
It's also listed, and it's also
Every day, but.
It's in different sections because that falls under public safety.
I went over my life.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the same format that was being used for several years.
Wait till next week, I think.
We weren't never allowed to.
Okay.
That's the one.
Okay. Well, I tried to print the pages so that it would get all of it on one page, if it was a section, it's just split section, so it's kind of like.
I had to work with fingernails. I got that checked.
Well, so they're just like taking off.
Poor Joe.
Do you want to start with your revenues? Here, go to.
Well, I appreciate that the police department lived up to their reputation by bringing donuts.
Yes, we did.
That was really.
We brought y'all some donuts.
That was really thoughtful.
Yeah, I had it here.
Well, this is a bit easier to read. Yep, it's got bigger print.
Awesome, thank you.
Not that you need it, but it
I
does.
don't know, I'm old. Hello?
He's gonna start with his, he's gonna start with page 1 and go over his, talk about his revenue.
Oh, his revenue on page 1 first. Okay.
Our revenue, shut up a little bit, because there wasn't as much this year, because courts were shut down. A lot of our revenues comes from the courts, like drug funds and stuff like that. They wasn't holding courts. There wasn't much going on. So it's kind of, and with this being our first full year, we was kind of shooting for the projections and hoping we get there, but COVID messed up a lot of things for that. And, let's see what else.
The court fines general sessions, that's a new line item that we set up for your stuff that goes to general sessions.
We have a lot of things in court, a lot of things pending in court. Once they open up courts back up, that's where the fines come from. Fines come from court. They're not holding court, then we're not getting any fines or anything. So that's why it was a lot lower this year than it was projected.
Now when there's a charge that is being adjudicated in general sessions court, and there's a fine, let's say it's a $500 fine, how much of that do we get? Are there court fees on top of it?
Yeah,
that they keep, or do we only get a portion of the
They
fine?
keep their court costs, and
They
we
keep
get a
all their
part of the fine. I
Just
don't
a
know how
part of
much.
the fine.
Yeah, I don't know how much exactly. Each charge has different fines, and it's a lot of it's depending on the judge.
Well, I figured there's a percentage.
Yeah, I
I
can
don't know
find
how
that
that
out.
works, I'm just curious.
I can find that out for you.
I think it'd be worth just being able to, not in a mean way, but just hold them accountable, just maintain some accountability. If it's 15% of it we're supposed to get, or 60% of that we get. That's all. I'm just-
And another thing too,
And it's maybe new to somebody and they may not know to give it to us.
another thing too, this is why the first year was a lot lower than I found out. We don't get them fines until the people pay them.
And if they don't pay them, we don't get it. Yeah.
And a lot of our stuff, and you can get charged with something, and it's a year down the road before you get convicted.
Yeah,
And especially with court being shut down.
especially with drug related stuff.
Yeah,
that you don't
drugs
Find out from. Could be a couple of years if
And
you're
they
going
would
to
get
get
on that
it.
their funds and they get picked up again.
Yeah.
I mean, they can never get it, but anyway, whatever. Okay, just checking.
Page 2. Sure. Grants.
Grants. The police training supplemental pay, that comes from the state. That's our post-cert, when we have post-certified officers, the state pays us for the training that's required, which is 40 hours. That's the post-training pay. I'm requesting a little bit more next year, hoping that y'all bless me with some help. The equipment grant, that's from Tennessee Highway Safety Office. We requested 2, I think.
It's on page 2, and it's highlighted with grants, and he's on his equipment grant, which is 334020 GL code.
The equipment grant, we requested 15, got 12.5. Well, we got 11 on that for the equipment. That's through Tennessee Highway Safety Office. We've applied for that again this year. Also, the high visibility grant is through the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. We did not get that last year due to we got the $12,500 grant. And that's what we bought our computers and for our cars and our portable breathalyzer machines, which has already been extremely useful. And we should be getting, I submitted the request to get reimbursed for that. We should be getting that pretty soon. A lot of these other grants, like the Homeland Security grant, that's going low. That's going down a lot because COVID. You have to go to meetings and stuff for that. They're talking about this year just kind of giving everybody money for gas masks and stuff like that because a lot of that stuff's federal and it's federal's changes. I don't see any more for us.
Okay.
We got now.
7.
Okay. Let's go on now.
You want to hit the high spots. I don't know if you need to go over every line item. You're going to get maybe the ones that have a significant change.
Yeah, I'll go over salary. I'm requesting a full-time officer. I think we've proven that we're something valuable for the town to invest in. I'm working a lot. A lot of our traffic comes in at second shifts, and a lot of it's when I'm going home, and I'll come back in. This month, we've answered 288 calls this month. I'm the only full-time officer. We're making more arrests than a lot of departments that have 24-hour coverage. I have great part-time officers, excellent part-time officers. The problem is they're part-time. They're not married to this department. I need somebody that's married to this department along with me because we're busy. And I want to handle everything because I think we provide a quality service to our citizens. And if I can bring somebody in with the same vision as me that's full-time, we can just double that. When I came into this job, it was an uphill battle because a lot of people was against it. Now, I think the citizens, we contact more citizens than any other department. Any other department we contact. And I think it's been extremely positive. And we contact people when they're not at their best. People call the police department when they're not at their best. And I've talked to a lot of you guys, and I don't know if y'all have negative remarks from coming from citizens, I don't know about it. Now some people's not gonna be happy that they get speeding tickets and stuff like that, but that's just part of it. But I need some help. I need some full-time help because I want to continue to provide a quality service to citizens, but it's hard. It's getting hard. Like I said, we're putting more people, we're dealing with more crime and stuff like that than like Bluff City, Baileyton. These are departments that have 24-hour. Baileyton's a lot like us. It's a small town, and they don't have no property tax. They have a 24-hour department. I'm not asking for a 24-hour department, even though my goal is to have an officer working as long as there's a business open in the town. I know that's not doable this year, but that is my goal. And that's what I'm gonna push for. And hopefully that we provided good enough service that you all will want to invest in that. That's why I'm asking for the full-time officer this year, because we're building forward. The town's growing. We want to get the services here before the town gets bigger. Because we coming around and we build all this stuff and then crime's gonna increase. We ain't got a police department there. County Sheriff's Department's doing a great job helping us. But like right now, you have 3 officers, the whole entire shift is on the 47 mile marker. If we wasn't here and you had an emergency right now, your family had an emergency, they'd be coming from the 47 mile marker because they got the interstate shut down because of tractor trailer fire. It's up to the town to provide the safety and security of citizens. So I'm requesting a good salary for the officer, a competitive salary, because I want to recruit somebody that's going to be great. And I think as a department, we have a great department. I think I'm pretty easygoing to work with. I have guys that work for me now for free. So, but I want to recruit a quality officer that wants to be here for a long time. And I'm requesting a good salary.
Yeah, the salary split, with a 5% raise for Andy, he would put him at 42,000.
How much?
42,000. And, he gets a Christmas bonus and he gets state certification of $800, which we get reimbursed for. Then a new person would be $30,200 for Christmas bonus and $800 certification. So that makes up the 74,000.
Okay, that needs to be split out to the police chief and the full-time. You don't need to be grouped together.
How many part-time you got now that's paid?
3, one of them works CID and we're open. We have, at one point in time, we have more cases than the county did. And the county has 3 CID officers and he's part-time. And he's also on call 24 hours along with myself. There's been many nights I've been out here at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Him too, and a lot of my officers. Jay's the same way. We don't pay him a dime and he's out here at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, I was looking at this, like right now, last year, Bluff City 24-hour department had 3 DUIs. We had 13. We had 49 drug and narcotic violations last year. They had 16. We had 117 arrests last year. They had 32. And I'm the only full-time officer. And 75 of them was mine. And that's a lot of work by myself. It's hard. It's hard. I've spent more time here than I do with the family. I'm not complaining about it because that's what I signed up to do. I signed up to be out here for the people. I feel like being out here is what I need to do. But it would be nice to have some help. And that's why I requested the help. And hope.
Okay, I've gone back and looked at all our employees' raises. David, give me information. You worked over here in the county, correct?
Correct.
I recommend we raise him 45,000 because he should have got something at 6 months or a year. He's not. Any thoughts on that? And I'm going to go back and again mention the huge raises that people got 2 years ago.
I know they've done a fine job, but when this police department was formed, we were sold on the idea that you was gonna be a part-time, one full-time guy. I think as a town, we need to figure out what we want. Do we want full-time or do we want part-time? We're getting less and less. If they're not here, the county comes out. The county's got one officer on the north end all the time. They go to work on Stone Cold regardless. And they do send I've seen multiple guys out here. We just, I'm not criticizing y'all in no way. I don't have no criticism of what any of you've done. But as far as the structure of our police department, I think we need to figure out what it is where we want it to go. What do we want it to be? How much that's going to cost. I just think everybody needs to decide what they want it to do.
How many of y'all have been in that evidence room and seen the evidence they collected?
I think a lot of it is what demands we have for them as to how we do, and most of them have part-time and full-time.
If you stand in that evidence room and you look, you think, good grief, all of this would be out on our street.
You all here,
All of this would be out on our streets if our guys hadn't gotten off the
It's really
streets.
bad.
I take,
It's bad.
the talk to you, I take this personal. I take this department personal because it's
Oh, I
mine.
know that.
I don't want the county out here when I'm not here. But I mean, I want the county out here, but I want my guys here because I know what I provide.
No, but
And I know I get calls at 3 o'clock in the morning from citizens because they don't want the county out here. They want my guys.
yeah, but that's not right.
Well, that's not right, but that's the way it is.
But it shouldn't be that way.
It
But
is.
he just said right now, if we needed something right now in this building, all 3 county officers are down there with semi-tractor trailer wreck down at exit 47.
But
They're not gonna be here.
I'm not criticizing nothing, okay? I'm just saying, this year, next year, what do we want this department to be? And if we want no county out here, we need to fund it. And if we don't, we need to say that. We need to give him a direction of where this group of people want to see it go. And then he'll know what he can do and we can know what we expect.
Well, I'm gonna add this then to some of your earlier comments. If we want to recruit businesses, they are gonna want to know that we have, fully supplied, available law enforcement and fire response crew.
I agree. But I also know that we're all paying tax. So are we gonna give what the county does for us too?
We get, the county gets taxes.
No, but I'm saying our land taxes.
The sheriff's department, when it comes to law enforcement, you're paying county tax. That don't mean they're not gonna be providing any service to the town. The sheriff's department's main function is to house the jail, provide the courts, and serve civil process, and provide law enforcement when there's no municipality there. They're still gonna be out here serving civil process. They're still gonna be housing the jail. That's an expensive thing because we take a lot of people to jail. And they man the courts. That's,
I know all that,
yeah.
but I'm just saying,
What do you want? Are you saying that you want to keep the department where it is, or are you saying you want to figure out? What are you saying?
I think we all need to decide where we
Okay, and I'm just asking your opinion.
We need to
What do you
decide.
want? What do you envision for the police department?
I don't know how much funds. My whole problem is, I'd like for us to have our own police department, period. But I don't know if we can fund it or not. That's the problem I have. I like knowing they're right here. I do like knowing they're right here. Because if something happens at my house, I was coming across the mountain the other night. And I had 2 officers waiting at my house when I pulled in. I started 40 minutes away. I like that. But I'm saying, instead of just saying, well, we're gonna give him a part-time and he's gonna have to find some volunteers. We need to figure out how he can operate, what we expect out of him. And there's 5 of us to decide that. I don't know how much he can fund. But he shouldn't be getting calls. He got a call a couple of weeks ago on Saturday. Somebody had taken a trailer, pulled a camper and got it caught on a guardrail or something. He had to come out here for 20 minutes. Everybody got excited. There was calls going on in the county. And
The county called me out.
it was useless. He shouldn't even been called.
I get called by the county officers because they're busy at all times of night, all times during the day. Can you come out here and help? We go to Limestone Cove to help them. The sheriff wants to swear us in so we can go help them out because we have to help them. I get called all the time because they're shorthanded and can't cover. And especially on weekends. My part-time guys, Aaron is amazing, but he works every Saturday. He can't, and then I can't expect
And
him.
he gets one, I'm home usually, he gets one call and right after another.
And we,
It just goes on and on. So again, I like having the police here, but can we afford,
Can we afford not to?
well, I'm just
Just
saying.
turn the question back. Can we
We
afford
just
not to?
look at our budget things on some of the things we can cut, if we can.
Well, we have to prioritize. Is our police department a
Yes,
priority?
yes, I
Is
just,
it a priority?
and you know, we got all these men, they've been generous with their time, and even the ones that's paid, that's not a lot of money. I'm just saying, we need to figure out what,
As far as I'm concerned, every officer we have, whether volunteer, full-time, part-time, whatever, every officer we have, I think upholds the epitome
I agree.
of serve and protect. I think they are the epitome of serve and protect.
I've not had a problem out of one of them, but I just think we need to give him the direction that whatever it is we can get.
I think it's a priority. I think it's a
He's
priority.
kind of telling us through his budget.
I think
what
it's-
is required. not
I
what
think
we
it's a
see.
priority, and I do think there is, and I'm gonna say this, it's gonna come out on tape, I know, but I think there is animosity between the county and the town. And I'm basing that on a personal visit from the county.
Can I make a comment,
Uh-huh,
please?
yeah, stop me from saying those stuff I shouldn't say.
The problem we have is the volunteers, the auxiliary guys, myself, Eli, and Rick, we're limited on what we can do because we're not post certified. That means that if we have any warrantless situation, Andy's the only guy. The other two part-timers have full-time jobs and families. So they can't show up always when there's a problem. So if there's anything serious at night or weekends, when this guy's home, guess who has to be here? He is the only one. Because we can respond to a call, but if it's a serious situation and there's a warrant required, we can't do that. We can't take anyone to jail. He has to do the warrant. So where we really need another full-time person is that person would be post-certified. They could do what he's having to do on the weekends and at night. So we're trying to work out a schedule to where, and we've worked on that, this guy can go home, spend a little bit of time with his family and his kids without living in this radio 24/7. So if something happens, he has to respond to it. Now, the town now is relying on us. They don't know the county guys. There's a lot of deputies out there. They have shifts, weird shifts. So they frequently call me because now they know me. They call me at home. I'm happy to respond to it. But again, I'm restricted on what I can do because I've had 50 years of experience, but I haven't gone through the academy here, and I'm not post-certified, so I can't do warrants. So that's where we're hurt.
Well, see, there's another issue.
So that's my
You
little
got a real,
speech.
if you got a real bad situation and you just got one uniform deputy on call and you get some really rowdy guys.
Problem.
well,
You know, hey, I'm thinking of all of you. I'm not,
and then that's where we get our county tax dollars to come in and back us up.
but I'm just saying, we've got things that we need to cover to protect you all and us. It's a two-way street.
Yeah,
And please don't take it negative.
I'm not,
My
I just,
attitude is to be helpful, not to hurt anybody.
I'm not taking it
But
negative.
it takes money to do all this.
I know it
And
takes
I don't
money.
know-
And I want to go back on the salary thing. I am fully behind financially rewarding in every way we can. But Roger, I'm gonna follow up by saying there is history that there was a lack of consistency on who got what kind of raises. I don't want to start that now with this administration by just bumping one person by $1,000, but not bumping everybody. I don't want to continue that history of inconsistency when we do raises.
Well,
So I'm just gonna lay that out there.
I have worked with the police, I think more than anyone else in the room.
They deserve it. It's not a matter of deserve.
Not correct, Andy.
Yes.
I've worked more with them than anybody in this room. I'm for them, but what bothered me, I'm paying taxes. I expect our group here to work with the county, and I expect the county to work with our group. I don't want to hear this, we don't want them out here, I'm sorry,
That's the citizens saying that, not the police department.
And I'm not saying I don't want the county out here. We work well with the county. I didn't mean to say it like that. I just, if there's a big problem in this town, I want my guys and myself to be there because I know what I'm doing to provide the quality
The
of
truth
service.
is, the county is dependent on our
if
guys.
we have a beef with the sheriff, then we need to get together and solve it. Okay, I know you're trying to do one. I don't want to hear this, we don't want them out here.
They didn't say, our police department didn't say.
I know, but I'm saying.
Citizens.
The county wants us out here because they call me and tell me
I know,
everything
I know.
that happened.
No, I know exactly. But, this man should have got a raise in 6 months, other people didn't. I'm not gonna start calling names, I've got the list. I know what you're saying. We need to correct an issue that was overlooked. We need to correct an issue that was overlooked.
Was that issue overlooked for anybody else? If we do it for one, we gotta do it for all.
Well,
I'm not gonna practice independent benefit and raise.
okay,
So, I mean, I think we gotta bring everybody up to speed. If there's something was overlooked and people are hurting, let's talk about it.
well, we had one employee that got a huge raise and turned around and got another raise for a total of 9.6%. 2 years ago, we had one employee get 13%. I've got the numbers, that's how much the next one said. He didn't get anything.
They changed the salary base. They increased their salary base
Yeah,
by those amounts.
yes,
I was in all those budget meetings. I know people personally in and out got different amounts of money, and I don't think it's
Yeah.
right. I don't think it's right.
and
So
to me, one person should get 13%, another person gets 5%.
I agree. So what are we gonna do moving forward?
So what
Are we
I'm
gonna
saying,
start?
he
we're gonna
was
do this-
overlooked, he did not get a 6-month increase, and here's.
Did you sign a contract, Andy? There was no contract?
Well,
Okay, well, that one person that got it for 6 months had a contract that said they'd get a raise in 6 months.
see,
We don't have a contract.
we didn't even follow what we've done before.
That's why I'm saying we're right here today, we're gonna clean it up and we're gonna move forward. Okay, I can't go back and fix every wrong,
No,
but we're gonna be clean and straight moving forward.
well, and they already work a week,
I
70, 80.
I work quite a bit.
You're gonna have to hold your phone and those numbers you don't know, let them call somebody else.
Maybe can I make a point about the concern about county supplementation or working with us in the town? Would that be helpful? We looked at that, in the past when the police department was looking at being formed multiple times. And the county does have a continuing duty to supplement law enforcement here beyond the level that the town provides it. Now, that was the law when we didn't have a police department. It's still the law now that we've got a police department. Whatever level the town decides is the appropriate level of law enforcement that we want to supply, the county's supposed to supply. That all sounds great on paper. In practicality, we all know there was a period of time where we didn't have very much law enforcement. I'm not in any way criticizing the sheriff. I'm just saying that's what happened. And so if it's your all's choice to, and when I say that, I'm speaking directly in terms of interacting with our court. Our court didn't function for a long period of time. Y'all look carefully at these revenues. We all know there was periods of time when that just wasn't part of the law enforcement that was being supplied. So we now have a police department that's functioning quite well, and your chief's told you what he needs to make his job doable and what his goals are for the department. So I just wanted to make it clear that because he's focusing on different needs and goals doesn't mean that the county's obligation to supplement that goes away.
But the allocation is less.
Sure, and
That's
even
just how it
even
is.
when the allocation was supposed to be all of it, it was a whole lot less. So that's a whole different
Just
issue.
saying.
That's not a legal issue, that's a
Just saying.
political issue, is what I'm saying.
Well, also your line item 122. Let's see, no, I'm sorry, 112. You went from 2 part-times, I guess, to 3, is that?
And a lot of this,
What is that?
yeah,
Is
that's,
that right?
but the part-time hours, we went a little over this year because it was, a lot busier than what we thought it was gonna be. A lot of this part-time could go down if we had the full-time. Because my goal is to cover, I'd like to cover on the weekends and stuff like that. That will help, that's gonna help us cover on weekends. And, you know, our CID guy, he's out all the time. There's times that they don't put time down because they know they can't go over or something like that. And that's not fair to them. I wouldn't expect my guys to do, I don't want my guys doing that. Overtime, that's provided by the grant. That will be, that $5,000 we reimbursed through the grant. That will go to the full-time guy. That post supplemental training pay, that's what I discussed before. That'll be reimbursed by the state. I don't know all this health insurance stuff.
That's for 2 people, the 23,000. I just kind of bumped it up with an increase because we don't know what's going to be. So it's 2 people with health insurance.
I'll go down to training. We could send somebody to the academy or any of the training, the virtual academy training, CID training, things that, I mean, I don't want to get low on training because I want well-trained guys. And so it's, well, in my training, I have to go to training every year because not only do I have to do law enforcement, I'm in charge of all the training, make sure the training's completed for all my guys. I'm the GDI, it's a Generalized Department Instructor. I have to work with the Post Commission on all the make sure everybody's up to date, gets their 40 hours, make sure they're shooting. Also, I have to do all the TIBERs, which is the incident reporting, all of our reports, every officer's reports and my reports, we have to report that to the state. So while I'm out here also answering calls, I have walk-in traffic, the radio traffic. I'm also have to do all the computer stuff for the state. And I have to go to school every year for the GDI and TIBERs. Liability insurance, I don't have any control over that.
This person you want to hire, can you hire a post certified already?
I would love to hire a post certified. Yeah, yes. That's my goal, is an experienced post certified officer. And it won't be hard because I'm there, the county officers there every day wanting the job. Memberships and education, that's through, we gotta get through what do they call it? The Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Officer Association. That's part of the training and stuff we do. The Chiefs Police Association, that's part of the memberships and stuff that we're all involved in already. And also the Tennessee Public Safety Network, that's the training I went to before. We're involved in that, all that stuff that costs. Electric and water, gas.
Yeah, before, we were kind of paying for that because we didn't really have a lot over there, but it was kind of coming out of town hall, that annex building. So now we're budgeting for his utilities. And the building maintenance, that's that line item, that is the renovation of the evidence room. And then we're just putting 500 in for maintenance for the next year.
Have you seen a huge increase in gas use electricity?
No, not really,
Okay.
no.
Well, I might as well just say what I gotta say, so then the money that we get because of, I know all the vehicles supposedly is saying, oh, everything we can use this and this and this, but that don't last forever. Whether we use COVID money or whether we print some money or whatever, they're gonna have some vehicles. We're gonna have these officers working, they're gonna have good vehicles. I mean, their vehicles are running, but they're dated. They're not gonna last forever. Could you say amen?
Well, we didn't really budget anything for vehicles this year.
I know, but I'm just saying, that is part of this thing we need.
Eli's working on a grant that if we can get it, it's a 75-25 rural development grants for Baileyton gets all their vehicles. They get new vehicles about what, every other year?
Yeah, so, what they do is they use a rural development grant, and what it works out, you can do it a couple different ways. It's a matching system. So you end up doing 25% match on the vehicle, so the grant covers 75% of it, and you apply for it. So depending on the size of your department, I feel like we would qualify from the person I spoke with.
The guy said we qualify.
Yeah, due to the size of the town, where it's, over 16 square miles, he said that's actually a large area for as low of officers as we have, because it's kind of rural. So he said that he felt like we would qualify for it. You put in, and you could be approved for anywhere from 1 to 4 vehicles. And if you're approved for 4, you don't have to buy 4, but you can if you'd like to. And you have to buy them through a state dealership.
I know
And
that.
they come fully equipped, lights, sirens, cages, everything.
It's got a place for your gun, everything,
Yeah,
everything you
You
need.
just, all you have to do is mark it. They either come
Yes.
silver, black, or white,
It's
and then
fine.
just mark them. So, but the nice thing is, those are yours, you own them, so it's not like a leasing program where you have to give them back. So after 4 or 5 years, you could theoretically sell it to a different department, and take that money and reapply for the grant, and then use that money to, use that as your 25%.
It's a match.
But I didn't know, I figured I'm asking for an officer. I didn't know if I would be able to ask for a card.
How many running vehicles you got right now?
Well, 4.5 if you count the expedition, because that half of it belongs to the
I
town.
mean, I can look at them and know they're dated, how's that?
The 3 or 4 cars are up and running good at the moment.
Yes.
Two of the ones that we have, the cast offs.
Yeah. And then we got the Charger, we put a new motor in it, and then the other Charger, it's fine. The biggest issue we have is we've only got one 4-wheel drive vehicle, and it's not a marked unit.
It's ancient. It's
If
20
we
years
ever got another vehicle, I would want a 4-wheel drive, because our Chargers do some amazing things in the snow, don't they, Eli?
You look one time at these streets, and instead of having those.
Yeah.
And it's got low mileage and everything, we have a 4-wheel drive. We never did that.
Yeah, and they're getting Explorers. My dream is to have a Chevy Tahoe.
It's the expedition that
So the grant, when I put into it, I'm actually waiting to hear back. There was an issue on a couple of grants that are not in the budget this year, due to like a tax ID issue. So 3 different agencies kicked back our application, because they said that our tax ID number wasn't in line with what the police department should be. So Debbie and I have been working on getting that.
And also a revenue we got last year, it's not in, I didn't see it in here, is that Walmart.
Yeah, that's one of them that we're
It's
working on getting.
It's a first responder grant. How much is 5,000 this year?
What did you get this year?
We got 2,500 last year, and we're getting 5,000 this year.
And that was because we applied late in the year, I think October last year.
And we can use that for anything we want.
Yeah, there's no, and that's one thing with the grants, is a lot of times there's spending requirements that it can be and can't be used for. The Walmart grant's nice in the fact that you don't, there's no restrictions to it, you use well. But as soon as we get that tax ID issue squared away, just to let them know, you push it back through. And you should be able to get something soon.
I think we have that in miscellaneous donation.
I'm not sure when they get it back. But the issue that,
If it's a brand new one, about what, 50,000?
Yeah, it depends on the brand. I was talking to
That's fully equipped with the bells and whistles.
Yeah, and all you have to do, pay for outside of that is to mark it, so with the striping and the decal, but that's.
Our match would be left back.
Yeah, depending on the vehicle, because you could, it's not like, I said, you have to go to a certain dealership, so you can go to Ford, Dodge, or Chevy, and those vary in price depending on.
I get that, but they're saying that.
Yeah, and what I would want is one of the Chevy Tahoes, I feel like would be our best bet. That's,
I think the federal ID issue is because the town did not have a police department to start with. And you're trying to deal with the IRS to get that straightened out to where, yeah, we do have a police department now, so yeah, you can get us a grant.
okay. Phone and internet, we got cell phones where one officer has a cell phone all the time that's working, and he also used that for a hotspot. Our CID has a cell phone, plus we got the landline phone and fax line. That's pays for that. Equipment repair, $500. That's if the equipment breaks. Travel is, I have to go to these conferences trust me, I don't like it, but I have to go. If I don't go, they fuss. And especially now trying to get a name for our department. It's important. It pays for that, the travel. Miscellaneous. It's miscellaneous. Clothing, uniforms, body armor is up a little bit because if y'all bless me with a new officer, we're gonna have to outfit him. That's part of it. You know, we have to give them uniforms to work in. They're good prices on the uniforms. I mean, we always use True Blue. They're the only really place around here, and they do us pretty good. They do everything right. So office supplies, that's the same. We're down on laptops and office equipment because we've got a lot of things that we need already. Our laptops, printers. That's $1,000. We'll probably end up getting we're trying to get a nice office printer. I don't know if that would cover it or not. But. Operating supplies, we have to mail blood kits and stuff for DUIs. Jay has to mail stuff for codes. When we have to mail a lot of things. All of that's covered in operating supplies. And sidearm rifle, shotgun. We hire somebody to buy them guns. Oil, gas, diesel fuel. These went up. Of course, everybody here drives. Everybody knows the gases went up. We don't troll on horses, so the gases went up, and that's nothing we can do about that. And the vehicle maintenance repair, as y'all discussed before, we've got some older cars, we're gonna keep them operating. That costs money. We do a lot of our maintenance ourselves. Aaron's a mechanic, he does a lot of maintenance himself. All the little stuff, we take it to Aaron's house and he does it on the side. Don't charge us anything. And that's helped a lot. But there's other things that we have to take it to the shop for. The rest of the stuff's pretty much cosmetic.
Vehicle maintenance and repair, I guess we cover it, but is there a way, do you think, to carve out, I don't know, a couple $1,000 even? I know that doesn't sound like much, but to build up a capital budget line to help offset a new vehicle?
I mean,
Like a little savings plan. You know what I mean? Just to put a little something aside.
yeah, I mean, that's something we could probably do.
Well, just ponder it.
Yeah,
Um,
because I know vehicles and I know, and
because it doesn't hit you,
Yeah.
slam, all of a sudden, we're on it.
yeah, I mean, police department costs money, but I feel like we're worth it.
Well, a police car only lasts about 3 years. A new one. And, we bought, in my opinion, it's happened before I came, a vehicle that, should not have been purchased. It was
knocking when I got it.
It was worn out when we got it, and we paid a lot of money for it. We paid $7,500 for it.
And it was
And we-
pretty and big out.
It was done. It was a done deal, but,
It's history.
it was not in good shape. We have spent a lot of money on that car. I mean, it's been something constantly. You can't buy a car that was that used. You know, I mean, I think we probably got a pretty good deal from the 2 cars that we got from Irwin.
Yeah, those Crown Vics, it might blow up on me going down the road today, but so far it's been pretty much
Yeah.
bulletproof. I mean,
That first one, that was,
we had to put a motor in it. And now, I mean, now it's in good shape. And then that motor, like, when we got from the constable, that Charger, it's had a couple issues, but they're minor. It's in good shape, but it's also got 100-some thousand miles on it. You know, 100,000 miles on a police car is pretty rough, you know, unless it's Crown Vic. But, you know, we have 3 cars that's over 10 years old and 1 that's 9, right?
that was the first one, was it 9?
It's 2012. It's 2012. And if we drive them, I mean, everybody lately, I mean, we've gotten in 12 pursuits this year. And we don't just chase people for speed. Every one of our pursuits has been felony related, violent crimes. And we chase them and, you know, to try to catch them, because we don't want to just stop and wave at them as they go by, because these people have to be off the road. And people that's running from us are usually intoxicated or something, and they don't usually follow the speed limit. So, I mean, that's we run our cars, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on through here, a lot of stuff that y'all don't realize goes on. We have a lot of things. We dealt with a lot of stuff.
Usually at night.
And that's when you can't have a police chief that works second shift.
It's usually at
So,
night.
I mean, we have a lot of stuff goes on. Not a lot of stuff goes on during the day. I've made some of the biggest felony arrests we've had during the day. I got my worst DUI of my career on a Wednesday around 11 o'clock. It ran from me down here in Unicoi behind the daycare center. What was his? What was it?
303.
303. He had blood alcohol content 303. He should have been on him. Yeah.
He previously crashed.
He crashed a motorcycle and got somebody's car and ran from it.
303 often means dead, you understand that?
Yeah.
Legal limit's 0.08. He was a 0.30. He went to the hospital with Eli,
Yeah,
actually.
he coded twice.
And then we seized his motorcycle, which we're waiting to get paperwork back so we can have possession of it. A lot of stuff happens at second shift. And it's hard, because with my part-time guys, like I said, they're great, but Aaron gets off work at 6 o'clock and he ain't usually here at about 7. And sometimes, you know, he has kids. So we're asking these guys to work and cover our busiest time. But, you know, and then Jimmy's great, but he gets a corner call, he's gone. And then who they call? They're calling me. Hey, we're slammed. Can you get somebody in? Who, you know, I mean, who can we get in? So I usually come in. But if we have somebody, and I'm gonna spread them out, we're gonna have great coverage. With this budget here, you can have a Town of Unicoi police officer working 7 days a week until at least 11 o'clock at night, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Walmart closes at 11. And then we're gonna have this thing soon. So you're gonna have coverage. If you call police, there's a great chance you're gonna have a Town of Union police officer there. And that's something you should be proud of, because my guys are gonna be doing the right thing. My guys are gonna be trained, and they're gonna be excellent police officers. Because if not, we ain't gonna have them here. And I think the citizens respect that, because that's why they're calling us, not the county.
You want to just go over your drug fund right quick? I mean, there's not much to it.
There's not much to the drug fund because,
Go to tab 3.
yeah,
There's your separate salary, right? Is-
I've already done it on my copy.
drug fund, you don't have much there because we haven't had court. And we only get drug fund when people pay their fines.
Under 3, the yellow tab 3. Okay.
But there should be more than that in there, shouldn't there?
No, that's all there is so far.
Okay. Well,
Now, we do have money that's pending.
yeah, we got,
Balance sheet. That doesn't show on here.
okay. All right, so the drug fund, we've got money that's pending. We have actually seized over $2,000 worth of US currency that was used in drug, but we don't get awarded this stuff until the state grants it to us. And
When we get it, it goes on the balance sheet as pending funds. Then when we get awarded the funds, then we bring it into the revenue.
And then we got the motorcycle we seized that we will be able to sell and for revenue. But the state don't get in no hurry on that stuff. And plus any drug related arrests that we've made, which we've made plenty, the fines go to us and goes to our drug fund.
And then at the state, if there's a big drug bust within the state of Tennessee, then they will divvy out that money to different counties or towns, whatever. So you'll get a share of drug money that they weren't even involved in, and it's statewide.
And that is, I actually forgot about it. The part of that membership, that $2,000, that's part of being a part of the drug task force. And we get shared revenue within the drug task force. Even if we work a case that goes into Washington County and we make a big drug bust there, that's going to be part of that drug fund money, or the revenue comes to us.
Now, say that again.
With the drug task force, if we make an arrest in the town of Unicoi and they end up going to Washington County and we work that person, because it's not about making the arrest, it's about trying to find a dealer. We want to. We've signed the contract, yeah.
They didn't charge us anything that we signed the contract.
Oh, they didn't charge anything?
Not for the last few months of this year, but we are gonna have to pay for next year.
And see the county's in it. So even if we made an arrest here, then and they end up getting a lot of money and it goes into Johnson City or something else, the county got that money, not
We don't
us.
have to send a person yet.
We don't send the person.
We have for the county in the past.
That's in the past. They got a new drug unit.
Okay.
They have an officer that is a part of the drug task force, but we stay in our town. We just have the jurisdiction to go make an arrest in Washington County or Johnson City for a case that came from the town of Unicoi.
So instead of just isolating an arrest here for somebody with meth, now officers can pursue the connection into Washington County and go after a bigger fish.
And
instead of just getting this one, they can go get a bigger fish.
And that's a part of it. The criminals are networked. Now law enforcement's getting networked. And that's a great thing to be a part of. I really love the drug task force.
Or if
they've
they
done a
make
lot
an
of good
arrest and they think it's sourcing out of Unicoi, they can come out of
Yes.
Unicoi.
And then we
Andy and them work with them
share a part of that.
to find the source or find the.
And it ain't nothing to go to the house, find a load of money. This is part of it.
Now, whatever comes into the drug fund has to be used in a certain way. It has to be drug related to use that money. You couldn't all of a sudden decide, well, I'm gonna pick up a vehicle out of the general fund, I'm gonna use some drug fund money. You can't intermingle those funds.
You have to account for them too.
Mhm.
What you take in, what you.
Right. Yeah, it's called the special revenue fund, and they really keep a close watch on that drug fund and how it's spent.
Any questions?
Do you have a vacation plan?
No. My vacation is a couple days a week, going to go play rugby and hitting people.
That may be therapeutic.
It is.
I know you've got a lot of your officers here, we appreciate everything y'all do. Thank you.
Absolutely. And so, any final comments, guys, back there? You said your piece.
All I can say is keep working on the grants, but we need it. We don't have to jump up and down on the tables to get the match. If you get the grants, surely we can.
Yeah, my guys are blessed. My guys are a blessing. We all each have our own individual jobs besides law enforcement that we do to help the department. And
Something that
How
contributes.
positive do you feel
Yeah.
about those grants?
I'm sorry.
How positive do you feel about those grants?
If we get the tax ID.
yeah, we can get that rural development grant.
We qualify for.
Do we need to put money in there to supplement, and what are we gonna do about that if it gets hurt? We don't have.
Usually, until you actually get the grant, you don't really want to budget for it
Yeah,
until you get it, and then you worry about budgeting for it.
a lot of the grants do require a match. For example, like there's a body armor grant where it's a 50% match. The body armor is pretty expensive, so instead of just having to pay for that out of pocket, we'll match 50%. There's obviously the one for the vehicle. There's a lot, and that was one thing that we were, central, I was like, should we apply for the ones that
I think you said,
require?
where are you? I'm thinking, where are we on the agenda? And then I read it again and I'm like.
I know.
Okay, wait, I just are saying. Well, then I thought it again. Well, then I thought it again and I'm like, maybe she's saying like, where are you?
So I sat down there and looked over there and I thought, no, she's not at police.
So I answered both interpretations of that question. Where are you? On the agenda, the police department's getting ready to go. And I was like, maybe she means like, where are you? And so I said, visitors? And then I saw her drive in and I thought, that's
The
what she,
last thing I asked you the other day was, I said, where's it gonna be? And I thought you were fishing.
I don't know what I
In my mind,
said.
I thought that's where it was gonna be, so that's what.
Anyway, well, I knew it was about time for you probably to make a contact too. And I thought, well, anyway, anyway, I thought, visitors? That's what she meant. She's probably like, what?
No, I did, I knew what you were doing.
Oh, yes.
Trying to hang on to my sanity.
No kidding.
Yeah, excavators. Bless their hearts.
They don't have any clue
Well,
what
the
they're
foot- one of the boys, he posted saying, he said, do I have to do this because I'm failing everything and I won't be there next year?
That sounds like my students right now. Do I need to pay attention to this? Because I'm not gonna
He
be
said, basically, do I have to listen to this because I'm not gonna be there next year? I said, well, you will be there, we will take care of you.
Get you through 8th grade, the algebra proficiency test.
Let's just pretend we're gonna register.
The kids can do crazy things. It's impressive sometimes what they do.
Do you all want to go ahead?
I know, sometimes it may be as simple as he hasn't found his, you know what I mean? He hasn't found something that'll flip the switch
Well,
for
sometimes
him.
articulate.
Yeah, just flip that switch.
My daughter, my oldest daughter, has a little niece that transferred in the county school system. Here from North Carolina because of some family issues. And got her heart. She's well liked, very, very sweet dude demeanor, but she just hadn't gotten her programs. And I really was told me, just as an aside, and she was concerned about her issues. I'm still working.
I didn't bring
If we can move forward with that.
And I'll give her that.
Because she got two.
And she did.
Yeah, she's got two.
And, you know, it's kind of amazing how hard she worked.
Yeah.
Then she went on a mission trip